Today, we're going to be throwing down, and debating the importance of story in Zelda games.
Yes.
I have this to silence you if I
have
need
that
to.
too. Don't start this episode by swinging that thing around.
I will
Jeez.
start it however I want.
It's going to be one of our more contentious episodes.
Right.
We used to do this all the time on Nintendo Minute. We would debate hot topics.
We did.
Like the politics of the Mushroom Kingdom.
We did.
And it's time to get the debate club back in session.
Yes.
So here we go, and it's going to be about Zelda's story because we got another great Zelda game right on the horizon.
We got a great Zelda game on the horizon. The timeline is more contentious than ever before. Zelda movie is an eventuality. So the time is now. The time is right to have this big debate. We are also going to be discussing WoW, one of the best game of the year, I would say, so far.
Yes.
Astro Bot has taken over our little lives. Astro Bot has weaseled his little bot self into my little bot heart. And I'm living the Astro Bot life, I'm telling you. I'm so obsessed with this game. It is incredible.
We've been playing this game so much, we're going to talk about our impressions of it.
Yeah.
What Sony might be taking away from this.
Right.
What Nintendo might be reacting to as they see all the positivity.
Right.
And then all the capital D discourse that's floating around this game.
I need to do this to the capital D discourse.
I'm serious. If you start swinging this thing, people are not going to keep watching this. This is too loud.
I'm gently doing it. I said I'm going to need to do this to the capital
Thank you to
D
Capcom
discourse.
for sending this to us, by the way.
Yes, thank you, Capcom. But capital D
Ace Attorney Investigations Collection.
Capital D discourse people.
Bam!
Overruled, as they say. Okay.
All right,
anyways, I'll put it down. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
You can't help yourself.
I really love this thing.
I'm gonna have to.
Capcom didn't know what they did.
We're gonna have to call in the bailiff and have some seizure of this.
The bailiff can't take
here.
the judge away.
You're not the judge.
I am the judge.
You need a powdered wig. We have also scheduled tomorrow. We are recording our spoiler cast for Famicom Detective Club. The Smiling Man, Emio. Maybe by the time we record it, I can
get the name
nail
right?
down the correct order of the naming of this
I know,
game.
Right? It's a very long title.
It's quite long.
Yes.
But we have finally made it to the end. This is kind of our fastest turnaround on a spoiler cast. My gosh, it's still like not even mid-September yet.
I know. It's a good thing because we have a lot of very busy, very fun things planned for the rest of the month. So it's good that we finished this game a little early. Honestly, you and I could not put this game down.
No, it's very fresh in our mind, so it's perfect.
Yeah, it really captured us and disturbed us deeply as we were kind of playing through this game. And this is really the perfect game for a spoiler cast. And yeah, it's going to be really fun to talk about this. And I just need to get some stuff off my chest, honestly, because I'm a little traumatized.
Do you need this in there too?
No, I need a blanket.
All right.
And
tissues. Well, we have tissues on the set.
I may need some tissues.
Okay.
Yeah, I was pretty emotional.
We're gonna have some tissue time on the spoiler cast.
I was pretty emotional, I will say.
All right. Good. We're gonna talk about again. We're gonna dance around some things in the games we're playing. I'm worried already. You're looking a little glassy-eyed already. We do not have tissues on the set today. We have a gavel. So whatever you want to do with that.
Dab my tears.
To ease your suffering.
With a gavel.
That's gonna be up to you.
Yes.
We also have finally released, after much waiting,
maybe I should have cried then too.
Our video reacting to the CDI Zelda games. You want to debate the story of those games too? Should we talk about those?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes,
Bring it on.
They count, right? Yes. We filmed that a little while ago, and then we realized, oh my gosh, we have way too many videos.
We did, yeah.
So we did the Nintendo thing, and we sat on them until the time was right.
And the time is now.
And the time is now. Those are out. You should check that out.
Yeah.
Forgotten
what an experience that was.
Bit of Nintendo history, Zelda history.
Yeah.
That they might like to forget.
Oh, yeah.
But we will not.
Yeah. CDI games were pretty much like saying a profane word when we were in the hallowed halls of Nintendo.
What were the top three verboten things to say?
Definitely
Bowsette.
Bowsette.
Yeah.
And maybe
Zelda CDI
games. And then maybe the Mario movie.
Project M.
Project M.
Oh, the original Mario movie.
The original Mario movie. Yeah.
Those were all things that nobody wanted to hear.
It was one of those you never said it out loud, but it was whispered.
Unspoken rules.
Just don't want it to be like that.
Don't mention that.
Don't make that mistake.
Right.
Like that. It was very much one of those kind of situations. So yeah, no one ever mentioned them. It was like a black sheep.
But we ain't there no more. So we changed all that. We watched these, we reacted to these.
Yeah.
And then after that, I picked up that game RZ, which I really loved.
You really loved RZ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is kind of
a lot of people love RZ.
There's a full circle, happy ending.
Yes.
RZ came out this year. For some reason, I thought RZ came out last year.
Yeah.
Which, it makes it eligible for Game of the Year. Oh. I've been thinking a lot about Game of the Year now. A lot of things are starting to come into more clear
I'm with you here.
Because we had a big rush at the start of the year, and then a bit of a lull, and now it's like, oh, there's so many games now that are popping off for Game of the Year.
Yeah. And I don't want to have recency bias, so I took really good notes of all the games I've played. I've kept up the Google spreadsheet, of all the games.
Yeah.
Because I don't like it when
you forget.
Yeah, and a wonderful game like Yakuza.
You forgot about Yakuza?
I did not forget about Yakuza, but that was in January.
I know.
That was 9 months ago.
I know.
That's a long time. I can't remember what I did 9 hours ago. Are you kidding me? But yes, Game of the Year will be here soon. Will a Zelda CDI game be Game of the Year? Probably not, but it was fun to react to it.
The last couple of years for Game of the Year, I've worn that ridiculous Mario suit.
Yeah.
I saw now they're making a Sonic suit.
Get it.
So I've been tweeting at them saying,
Send one to me.
Hook your boy up.
Oh God! Sonic Katie could probably get you.
She noticed that tweet. She was paying attention.
She's always paying attention.
So maybe she can help me out. Yeah.
She's watching you carefully.
I'm on a list somewhere.
You're on a
I'm on the Sonic no-fly list. Yeah.
It's like sometimes you jump back and forth.
I've been very nice lately.
You might get it instead of a cool Sonic, so you might get a bag of coal. At the end of the year, who knows?
Gosh.
Sonic Santa is not happy with you.
It's heavily soiled. I don't know that until I put it on.
It's like chili dog, like chili all
rolled
over,
in chili
dogs.
Perfect.
That might be kind of fun, actually. Anyways, we're really getting off on a tangent here. 1 week to go until Japan.
The 1 week countdown is underway. We are leaving a week from this Friday. So that is like a week and a day. What?
I always get like really...
You got the jitters?
No. I'm like, we've planned and planned and planned.
Yeah.
And then like, you and I are both very much like this when we travel. It's like, you can plan so much and then at some point as you get close to the trip, you kind of have to stop planning and just go.
You just gotta go.
And then figure it out when you get there.
Yeah.
So we're at the let's figure it out when we get there part of the planning. So now I'm like, it's happening soon. You know what I mean? Like, it's exciting, but it's like coming up really fast.
We realized that we're going to be there when Echoes of Wisdom comes out.
Yeah.
So we're probably coming back with Japanese physical copies.
That's what we're doing.
Of this game.
I'm not a physical girl, but I think this will be such a good souvenir.
Because fresh off
the shelf,
the plane that Monday, we're doing our big, impressions of Zelda.
So we can play on the plane.
Well, I shocked you because
you said something crazy to me. I was like, what?
I told you I'm not going to sleep on the flight back.
You're going to have to
which
sleep
is what
a little bit.
What you should do. I want to be playing Zelda.
No, you shouldn't do it because you land at like 11 o'clock in the morning.
This last trip I came back from Korea, I did that exact same thing. I was like, sleeping on these planes is so hard for me. It never works out. I always feel terrible. I'm just not going to do it.
You get a little crick in the neck.
And it was just fine. It was just fine. And then I had the greatest night's sleep when I finally got home.
You have to make it though until then.
I made it. Take a nice hot shower. Crawl into bed. Totally out.
Yeah, you gotta like keep yourself busy though during the day, or else you'll start to crash.
I did.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. I mean,
so I'm gonna have a real leg up on you on the old Zelda. You'd just be.
I'm gonna be like
sleeping away,
passed out in an old bed. Not even an old bed. I'd rather have an old bed.
An old bed might be an upgrade.
Most definitely rather have an old bed and wear like a musty smelling cloak than sit in this.
You are a very small person though. It's not the same problem that I have.
That is that's true. Sometimes we get really lucky and there's nobody next to you.
I don't think that's going to be happening.
You might
I don't think
wrong.
So.
You might be wrong.
Oh,
okay?
you got a big surprise plan?
I don't know. I'm just thinking I'm just hoping for the best. And then you can get like that one, little aisle to yourself, and that's kind of nice.
It'd be nice.
Anyways, we're excited about Japan. We've been planning all the videos we're going to be making while we're there. Lots of vlogs.
I think next week we will reveal the full
the list
plan, the full master plan, and when everything's
But there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be making.
Yeah, we're going to be so busy.
Really, really excited to just show you guys all the stuff that, we're excited to see. And just take you with us. It's going to be fun. All right.
All right, it's nearly time for the big debate. Fire up the debate club. First, we have another great sponsor to shout out. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Thank you, BetterHelp.
When you are growing up, almost all of your life is devoted to learning something.
Right.
You go to school, maybe you do something after school, you got homework to do. You're always learning. As you become an adult, you might hit a wall of like, I'm not really learning anything anymore. And you can kind of start to lose that zest for taking in new information, taking in new skills, learning new things. And that can be a bummer. But BetterHelp and therapy can help you reconnect with that sense of wonder and that love of learning.
Yeah, and it's not just about learning about the world around you, which is a good thing to do and a good thing to have, zest for, but also learning about yourself. I feel like a lot of times when you become an adult, and I definitely go through this too, it's like I'm so busy just like trying to survive that you kind of forget to think about yourself and feeding your soul and doing things that's like good for your own learning of self. So having a therapist and having someone to talk to that can push you to do those things for yourself is so important.
And quite frankly, like that was one of the things that kind of, pushed us over the edge to leave Nintendo was like, we're not learning that much anymore out of this job. We've kind of hit the ceiling on that, but you don't have to leave your job to experience that yourself. BetterHelp can help with that as well.
Yeah. Or help you come to a decision that you might be wanting to make.
Right. We both use BetterHelp. It is so easy to get started with it. It's done entirely online. You fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch whenever you like.
Yep.
And you can do it video visits, audio visits, even text
the
check-ins.
The text ones are good.
Whatever you want. So flexible, so easy, so convenient.
Quick advice.
That's right.
Text is so easy to do.
Yeah. So, rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kit Krysta today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kit Krysta.
We'll leave the link right over here and also in the description below.
All right,
hold on. I gotta put up.
No more dilly-dallying.
I gotta pull up my
I lost my papers, my notes.
My notes. Krista's secret
your
document.
100 pages of handwritten notes.
I'm ready for you.
We both keep a secret document.
We do. It is in the shared drive, so I don't know if you are looking or not.
Listen, I can see the history of who goes in there. And I know you snoop in there.
I don't. I've never looked in your secret document. Okay, you know what? I did look one time because you put the Pokemon spelling bee in there, and I needed to take
Smelling bee. Here we go.
Smelling bee.
No,
what do you think
that's
Pikachu smells like?
No, don't start. Anyways. Don't start with that. Don't start with me.
Zelda
debate. Here we go.
The debate topic is story important in a Zelda game?
And you are arguing?
Story is very important in a Zelda game.
All right.
And you are arguing that
I'm on the side of the naysayers, that it's not quite as important. And I do want to say, I'm not a hater about Zelda. I obviously love Zelda. I think story does have a role in Zelda games, but I think sometimes it gets blown out of proportion and gets, becomes this bigger thing that it is, which can lead to disappointment, which I think is a shame.
Okay.
So we're going to debate all of this today.
Wait, we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about it.
All right. Opening remarks from you? Opening arguments?
We have opening arguments?
Do you have an opening statement? I see you're not prepared for this at all.
Why don't you give your opening statement?
No, I asked you to go first. You've got the gavel. You're in charge, aren't you?
I mean...
I don't know.
I do know.
Well, maybe you're right.
Hey, stop it. You're distracting me. All right, so story in Zelda games. Story, obviously, for me personally, but I think for a lot of the Zelda fans, is very important. It plays an important role of world building, character development. I think the main thing that it does is that it makes you care about the game that you're playing. Without story as a part of these games, why would it matter that you're in this place with the sword fighting these monsters? So, yeah, I think while there is things that Nintendo can do, certainly to have a more official stance on the story and the elements of the story that people should take away as important, this usage of story as a way to build and breathe life into the world of this game is something that you cannot do without.
Beautifully said.
There you go.
Truly rethinking everything right now.
Don't even need to use the gavel.
I have some special guests that will be helping me. Don't stop staring at my screen. You always do this. That will be helping me with my arguments today. They're none other than Shigeru Miyamoto, Satoru Iwata, Mr. Aonuma, and Mr. Fujibayashi.
Of course.
They're here to help me prove my point.
Okay.
You know, I think my overarching feeling on this is as simple as, if Nintendo doesn't really think it's that important, then why should you?
Are you asking me a rhetorical question?
I just want to put that out in the world, let people think about that.
Okay.
Because again and again, they have showed us that this is not really at the top of their list of priorities when it comes to making these games.
Sure.
And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind as we have this debate. It's like, you know, they are making these worlds, they are making these stories, they're putting this out for all of us, and it's like, it's really near the bottom. The story is absolutely just like a tool to enhance whatever key gameplay mechanic they want to introduce. And I'm going to read my first, again, I have, these people are basically making my arguments for me, the top people at Nintendo.
How easy for you?
This is from Mr. Fujibayashi. I'll start by saying that whenever we create Zelda titles, it's gameplay first. So when we're thinking about wanting to, add elements like the Ultra Hand or the ability to create, that's something that comes first. And with the story of Breath of the Wild, we intentionally left some things unanswered. And so fast forward to when we were working and creating Tears of the Kingdom. What we wanted to do was include this ability to create. Looking at what we have from Breath of the Wild, what seemed to fit right with this idea was the concept of the Zonai and the Zonai devices. Well, devices before people discover that there are Zonai, and we thought that adding this element into it helps us expand and flesh out the story in a way that makes sense to add these gameplay elements. So here, right from the horse's mouth, we had this cool idea of gameplay, and we kind of thought, what is the story conceit that will help to support this? It was absolutely not the other way around. So again and again, and we know, we've had people from Nintendo tell us this all the time. It's like, we start iterating with just like a super basic like wireframe thing in the game, and we make sure that's fun, and then we think about everything else that will, the characters, the look, the story in this case. So it is just very, very secondary in their minds.
But, I feel like you just made my argument for me, because he basically is saying in that quote that the story is needed to enhance the gameplay. Mm-hmm. So you really, the gameplay means nothing unless you have the foundation of the story. Mm-hmm. The gameplay of Ultra Hand is very insignificant. It might be fun, but it's not going to keep you around unless you have the foundation.
How many hours did you play in Tears of the Kingdom?
But I had the story. I had the Zonai.
You were not experiencing the story for 200 hours.
Yeah, but I knew why that mechanic existed with the wrapper of the history of the Zonai, the history of Zelda going, way back in time to discover these first, rulers of Hyrule. That made me care about the Ultra Hand, which I still couldn't figure out.
But you still hate it.
Anyway. But my point is that the story makes you care about the gameplay, which is exactly what he's saying in that quote. I'd
like to ask you a question.
I'm not done with making the argument.
All right, go ahead.
Why do you care about solving these puzzles? Why do you even care about something as iconic as Link's sword, the Master Sword? Why would you even care about it? Just be some normal sword.
Because the number goes up. That's why.
Okay, the number goes up.
The number goes up.
Maybe, but you care about it a lot more, because every single time you get the Master Sword, there is this really cool story wrapper around it. But the Master Sword is a gameplay mechanic. Mm-hmm. Getting it gives you the ability as the player to do cool stuff that they wanted to put in the game. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't have that foundation around the Ultra Hand, the Master Sword, all of these really creative gameplay mechanics, the story foundation that makes them cool, do you even care about them? I would argue no.
I want to ask you a question. I'm curious about this. What would you say is the top one or two Zelda games with the best stories? I'm curious. I don't think I've ever actually asked you this.
I think Ocarina of Time has a pretty good story.
Okay.
Twilight Princess has a pretty good story. I think actually Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom really did a lot to give more cinematic quality to the story.
Yeah, I actually like those too myself. Yeah.
Lots of unanswered questions, as he says, because they were not thinking holistically about it, which I admit is something that Nintendo does. But I mean, why do you have these emotional scenes where like Link and Zelda are like crying in the rain and, you know, those kinds of moments? Like, why do they exist if they truly did not care at all about this? Like, those things existed in these recent games because you need that story foundation to make you care at all about the gameplay.
Because, you know, I mentioned that because one of the games that people say is the heaviest in terms of most story, most compelling story, most built-out story
Majora's Mask.
is Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Which is a game that you didn't actually like.
Yeah.
And why didn't you like it?
Because it wasn't a story that was anchored in the main land of Hyrule.
That's a lie. The reason you didn't like it was because of the gameplay. If it had such a great story, you would be compelled to power through this gameplay.
The gameplay was like not terribly different than other Zelda games, though. It had like a timer that I wasn't a huge fan of, which is like the only difference. But you're still doing the exact same things as other Zelda games, like going through a dungeon, puzzle solving, fighting an enemy with all your little items. Like, you're not doing anything significantly different. The thing I didn't like about that game in particular is I didn't really connect with Termina. I didn't really connect with the whole countdown mechanic because they had to wrap Termina in that because it wasn't part of Hyrule. So it actually was, you proved my point because I didn't really like the story and then I didn't really like the gameplay.
All right, I'm making a mental note of that. I mean, I agree there's definitely like cool moments, memorable moments, like, oh, we're pulling out the Master Sword, we got the music playing, we're gonna hold it up high, it's gonna, or like the scene, like the crying Zelda, like that was memorable because it was a moment in a trailer that had like all this emotional music and all this build-up. As I think about like that actually happening in the game, it starts to get a bit muddy.
What about the moment of getting the Master Sword in Tears of the Kingdom? That was like a top 5 best gaming moments of all time.
That was
because
great.
It was such a
right.
You know, they made it feel significant. If you didn't have that story wrapper around getting that Master Sword in Tears of the Kingdom, it'd just be like getting any old sword off the street.
So again, I think the moments are fine, but as a whole is where it starts to falter. And that long-term continuity is not something, that Nintendo is interested in. This timeline is something that popped up, only not that long ago. Mm-hmm. What was it before? Where was it before? I don't know. We have seen people like Miyamoto kind of make things up on the fly to try and plug.
Very true.
What's Mario's last name?
Mario.
It's Mario. It's like, come on, this is ridiculous.
Johnson.
And again, I have another quote from Mr. Fujibayashi, kind of responding to questions of some of the deeper questions, some of the deeper details of Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, what happened to the Sheikah Towers and the Guardians? And this is what he had to say. It is anyway commonplace for mysterious events and strange phenomena to occur in Hyrule.
That's true.
Thus, people have simply assumed the reason behind the disappearance is likely to be related to ancient Sheikah technology, and it seems there is no one who has tried to explore the matter further. Nothing to see over here.
Why is he talking like Shakespeare?
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Thusly, the Sheikah Towers.
Somehow the Sheikah Towers and Guardians disappeared.
Thusly.
Like, this is, I mean, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is your favorite movie. So maybe it's all falling into place here. But again, I think, this big interconnected story, even from like these games that are connected, like one, sequentially, one happens after the other. They're like, we just need it to be this way. Why does it need to be this way? Who cares? Just change it. It's best for the gameplay. So again, these people who want this bigger story, who want to see this linkage between game A and game B, are missing out on that, and that leads to frustration.
Yeah.
Which is challenging because so many people are so invested in what they want these stories to be. Mm-hmm. It's just not there. Back to the timeline. In Hyrule Historia, it says, attentive readers may note that the timeline shown here differs slightly from the one found, the Zelda Encyclopedia. The timeline here differs slightly from the one found in Hyrule Historia. The timeline can be interpreted in a number of ways and may change depending on new discoveries that have come to light and on the player's imagination.
Footnote.
So it's whatever you want it to be. We don't care. We're sorry we put this thing out there in the first place.
Yeah. I would argue, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you about the timeline being complete nonsense and it being an afterthought. And this idea of interconnectivity is where Nintendo really falls short a lot of the times with the story. And that is the main area where I think people have a lot, including me, have a lot of, frustration and just like question marks. And then, of course, like you have the hundreds and dozens of Zelda theorists on YouTube that like to theorize on the timeline because there are no, official answers. But I think that the story is more than this nonsense timeline. The story is not about the nonsense timeline.
That is the mythology of Zelda.
The mythology of the story is actually very simple. Like they have the simple... all the elements of the story, they have a history of how Hyrule was created. They have a history of, how the pieces of the Triforce came to be. They have all of this stuff categorized in these games. It doesn't need a timeline to have that be an overarching story. And beyond that, I would even say that like the other more important part of having this like bigger story is like the character development. Like, why do you even care about Link and Zelda and Ganon and whoever else if you didn't have like this history of those characters? So I think that people need to just like stop it with the timeline because it's clearly not something that Nintendo is very interested in officially confirming, and it's at this point it's like completely nonsense. And just focus on the overall mythology of Hyrule and this world and these characters that were built over all of these years. And frankly, I think Nintendo should do the option of just like erasing it and starting over.
Erasing
the entire timeline.
The timeline.
Just erase it and you don't need it. It doesn't matter. It literally matters zero when it comes to like how great these characters are, how beautiful and vibrant the world of Hyrule is that you can even add more life to. And how, interesting the mythology and history of this land is. Well,
I like the idea of it being, roughly the same story being retold in different ways.
Exactly.
Over and over.
You don't need to do this.
I prefer that quite a bit.
Yeah, and maybe there's more discovery. Like, I like it how in Tears of the Kingdom, like, oh, we have this ancient discovery of the Zonai. And they're also part of this land of Hyrule, this mythology of Hyrule. It's almost like a Greek myth or a fairy tale at that point, which is great for this game, and it makes sense as a way to build up these different characters, and even for gameplay, They don't need to have this, the timeline does not need to exist. Like, just erase it. Just make that decision. Erase the timeline. Maybe use the Zelda movie to do that. That's a great way to erase the timeline. Use that movie to just basically, like, zero out the timeline, and then just... let's start from a fresh,
maybe the Zelda movie will just be a
9-hour
YouTube think piece on the timeline.
It's Zeltic.
That's the movie.
Like monologuing the...
We do love Zeltic, by the way.
I love Zeltic.
We love Zeltic.
I only listen to Zeltic's timeline, by the way. He's the only one I trust. So I'm only listening to that. But I'm like, Zeltic could totally just VO 2 hours of like the Zelda movie. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But I really think, that is... I do not disagree with you on the timeline. I think that they are making it up as they go along, which is stupid.
Well, you mentioned the mythology. We had this interesting discovery when we went back and did our spoiler cast for A Link to the Past, was the story was so siloed in all these different places that you really had to hunt out the full picture. Once you finally got it, it did connect and was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But if you're experiencing just the game, you're really getting just a small sliver of that. There's so much more that was in the manual, which is now lost to time, basically, unless you really want to search it out, which I think is a shame.
That was such an aha moment for me, and I can't believe I had that moment like 2.5 weeks ago after being a Zelda fan for so long and thinking and agonizing over the timeline and the story and getting disappointed at times when it didn't meet my expectations. But that moment when I read the Link's Awakening manual, I was like, oh, this is the actual story of Zelda games, not the nonsense timeline, not this other random stuff, not these side games. Who cares? Like, you don't need to worry about that at all. That story in that manual is perfection. Like, if they can just...
I love that. I honestly love that.
If they can just, like, focus on that mythology and use that as the base for Zelda's story, I think we would all be winners, you know?
Let's aim to simplify.
Kiss.
Huh?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Oh, you want Link and Zelda to kiss.
Yes.
Also that.
Also kiss.
So again, you know, to the thing of like, yes, this game can create memorable moments, but it really struggles to tell a long, cohesive narrative. Like, there's a lot of examples of this. I don't think that, you know, the approach of how they're making these games does them any favors. There's very limited voice acting. The main character still doesn't speak for whatever reason, which is becoming more and more of a strange thing.
But the CDI games.
As we get, maybe that's why. You know, you just get these
I'll get my stuff.
little bursts of text in these small windows. And it's like, that helps to make good moments, you know, can have some punchy, pithy characters, but as far as stringing together a full cohesive story, I don't know. I have an excerpt now from an Iwata Asks.
Oh.
The two goats are at it here, Iwata and Miyamoto.
Let's do it.
Mr. Iwata says to Mr. Miyamoto, you make games based around functions, so you don't often talk about story or dramatic interpretation. But I feel like Ocarina of Time may have been an exception.
Ah, yes.
And Mr. Miyamoto says, but while making it, I noticed that I didn't want to tell a story so much as I wanted to have a lot of people appear around the main character and portray their relationships. Some years back, a TV show called Twin Peaks was popular. When I saw that, the most interesting thing wasn't the ins and outs of the story, but what kind of characters appeared. So again, we have these little vignettes, little flashes of things that are interesting. But as far as like this big, long, epic story, is it actually there? I don't know. Here's another excerpt from Mr. Iwata. Mr. Aonuma says the same thing. He said that while a lot of people say they like the epic story of Zelda, on the level of the script, the story isn't actually that epic. It feels epic because everything you experience within the game gets added to the story.
Yeah. Guess what? Making a movie. Gonna have to start caring about the story. Okay?
Uh-oh.
So, as much as I love this Iwata Ask from however many years ago, times have changed, Nintendo. Mr. Miyamoto is very involved in making this Zelda movie. Guess what?
And Mr. Iwata's summing thoughts on this are, yes, you don't want to tell a story so much as to have an interest in how the characters and their roles function to present the main character. It's like you to think about a game from that point of view of how things function.
Yeah. They truly are this way. Like, we've seen this in person. Like, they're very like functional in terms of gameplay mechanic, in terms of, you know, they only think about one thing. Is this game fun to play? You know? But guess what? A good story makes a game more fun to play. So they really need to start caring. Truly. Like, they really, like, as much as they don't want to, they have no choice now. They have to care about the story because they're making a movie that is all story. And if they want to push this franchise to like the next level and, you know, build on the success of all of these, you know, recent Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom games, they have no choice. So they better start caring now because they truly have no choice now. And,
you know, what I see, my observation as somebody who does not get super deep into these Zelda story conversations is it seems like players are often disappointed in the story of like, oh, it was going somewhere cool, but they didn't, you know, go all the way, or there was this big plot hole. And it's like, there seems to be just a lot of yearning for this to get to a different place that I don't know that it's ever going to get to.
I think it's going to get to because they have to make a movie.
Okay.
They better not have any plot holes in that movie because that will make a pretty poor movie. You have no excuse now. You literally cannot dance around this anymore.
All right, enough about this movie.
But like that's the thing.
It barely exists.
Once you've made that decision to do that, you are focused on 100% story. So there's no more excuses.
Well, it's from the guy that brought you Madame Web, so I'm sure it's going to be a banger.
Oh, I better be good. The reputation's on the line.
Venom and Madame Web.
Oh boy.
Imagine that in Hyrule.
Start to panic. No, I do think that I do like what they say though, because I think that's one of my favorite parts of in lieu of a like a huge overarching universe and story. Like they do a very good job of character development. I think they do a really good job of that. That's something that has gotten better throughout the Zelda games. Like you now have so much more information about different, people in Hyrule. Not even just like Link, Zelda, Ganon, but like other people in Hyrule. Impa, Pura, like all the people that are around the main character. Like you do feel that they had that want to do that with Ocarina of Time, which is one of the games that I noted that had a great story. But they do a really good job with that. So there are parts of what they're doing now that is really well done.
Yeah,
it's not like everything sucks.
No, I may be, again, people who are more invested in the story may feel differently. I like the story of Tears of the Kingdom. I thought it was well done. I thought it had some very poignant moments. I thought it, flowed in a way that made sense, and that I really enjoyed. So I actually don't have a lot of those concerns.
Yeah,
it wasn't the thing that got me in the door, but I enjoyed it while it was happening.
It definitely was the thing that got me in the door, because I really wanted to see what happened after Breath of the Wild. I mean, there are definitely things that were lacking in the story, but there were definitely moments that were like such a high, the highest of highs. So they do a really good job with the highest of highs moments. Like they know how to make you care about characters. They know how to make a cinematic, dramatic story sequence. They know how to do these things. So they just have to care about it a little more. And guess what? They don't have a choice now, so they have to care.
Now I've revealed some uncomfortable truths that may be a struggle to come to grips with.
Not really.
But I'm going to wrap things up by making you feel good about this, okay?
Which is?
It's actually a gift that Nintendo is not explaining every single minute detail in The Legend of Zelda. It's leaving things up to interpretation. That's where stories are at their best, when you have to grapple with it, you have to kind of piece together things in your mind, and you might have to fill in a few things yourself as well.
Yeah.
We have seen examples of IP where fans have asked, like, I need to know how this happened, or give me the backstory on this. And things get over-explained, and people don't like it. Look at Star Wars now. Where Star Wars was like 20 years ago, and where we are now, like, it's not a good place. And a lot of it is like, we have taken the Skywalker saga and we've just explained every little thing that could have happened with these characters in this universe. And I was like, I wish I didn't know this about Boba Fett. Boba Fett kind of sucks now.
He's not cool anymore,
Boba Fett with this cool, like, he's got the cool mystique, he's this cool guy, what's he about? And then you found out, it's like, this guy sucks. So, it is actually a gift. Everybody should be happy that Nintendo is not explaining the minutia of this story or every single character.
I agree. I don't think they need to do that to make story feel important as part of these games. I think they need to set the foundation of what this story, what this mythology is, and they have all the material to do that. Like, they literally have all the tools. They just need to, like, put it together. And yes, don't over-explain it. The over-explaining is happening now because the timeline is such a mess. They shouldn't even have done that in the first place. That caused some over-explaining.
But some people love that.
Sure. I tend to agree with you where, like, it's, give us the foundation of the story. Let us leave some things up to imagination. Let us wonder about mysterious characters that maybe show up once or twice. But the overarching story needs to be something that Nintendo tells in a compelling way. Whether it's within the next Zelda games, whether it's within the Zelda movie, they need to tell that story officially in a compelling way. And that's their responsibility to do that. So, and they have the tools, so I have no doubt that it's going to be great. So they just need to do it. It's okay.
Yes. Again, for the record, like, I'm pretty happy with the direction of Zelda's story. I think it has, a clearly defined lane. I think, I personally appreciate the focus on the gameplay and the innovation in gameplay. I know a lot of people, feel differently, or people have a different range of emotions about it. I certainly don't want a game that doesn't have any story. Like, this is not the type of game that would make sense for that. But I think back to, Mr. Miyamoto as a small boy exploring these caves in his hometown. Like, that is the spirit of wonderment, of exploration, of adventure that I associate with Zelda. It's the story that you are making for yourself as you explore this big, exciting world and what you can discover along the way.
Yeah, but the discoveries of this world need to make sense. They need to be, done in a way where it's connected so that you care about the world that you're exploring. Or else where do you just explore in an empty, dark cave? How boring.
Where is your childlike sense of whimsy?
You need to have some sense of place and time and why and motivation.
Sure.
And that is what story does for this game. The exploration part of it is only enhanced when you have this great story to propel you forward. So I think it needs to be a balance. Obviously, I would hate to have a Zelda game with all story, no gameplay. That would be really boring too. And I think vice versa would be also really bad. So we need to balance between, story that feeds into gameplay and vice versa. It needs to be like a symbiotic relationship. So
well,
there you go.
I'm glad to see that in the end you came around to my side.
We didn't really have to use this.
Do not hit. That is so loud. Do not hit that.
I'm not hitting. Right. I'm just doing
gently,
this. Gently.
Gently. Thank you.
We didn't even have to.
Always nice to have a civil debate. There was no name calling.
You cotton chewing.
What? We, of course, had to take this question to our Patreon subscribers. And we asked people the very same question of, how do you feel about story in Zelda games? 44% of people said, I enjoy the stories in Zelda games, but I don't really engage with them once I stop playing, compared to the 37% who said, I love the stories in Zelda games and enjoy really digging into the lore of the series. 11% says, I want to enjoy the stories, but I don't think Nintendo does a good job with them. And 9% says, I don't really play Zelda for the story.
Okay.
Where do you identify yourself here? Are you in the 44%?
I think I'm in the 37.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I like it.
I'm probably somewhere in between. It may be contradictory, but options 2 and 4. I enjoy, but I don't engage with it when I stop playing. But I also don't really play it for the story.
Yes, I would say that.
I'm pleasantly surprised when there's something cool happening in that space.
You have very low expectations when it comes to story.
Totally. Drew Hunter says, Zelda stories have always been important to me, though the discussion around the timeline and deeper lore is a bit much. My first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time, and as a 6-year-old, I was captivated by the classic good versus evil story. My favorite games in the series are those whose stories resonate the most with me. For example, I love Skyward Sword because it has my favorite cast of characters, and the story of how the Master Sword was forged was so cool to explore. While connecting the dots between the games is more than I care to do, each game's story plays a major role in how I feel about it compared to the others.
I like that.
These comments we got were so thoughtful.
They're so thoughtful.
And there are dozens of them.
Yeah. Skyward Sword, I've totally blanked. That's one of the best.
This was on all our Patreon subscribers. It is really thoughtful to read through all of these comments.
It was so fun to read them.
It was hard for me to pick just 3. Juji Fruit's next. Listen.
Hey, listen.
The early game stories were super simplistic, and some of the modern ones fall apart under not too close scrutiny. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And I think the timeline is even more of a hot mess than it used to be. And I love all of it. Dude, I write fanfic. I'll obsess over the canon Zelda stories that fascinate me, or disappoint me, the most, cherry pick my favorite bits from the ones I don't like, and sometimes just chuck it all out the window and do what I want. So I'm not super concerned over any retconning Nintendo does or plot holes they don't fix. It's all just brain food.
That's a really good attitude.
That's a positive attitude.
Yeah, this is one of the things where it's it leaves up to the player's imagination. Juju Fruit's imagination is running wild with this, and I love it.
Cerulean Dragon says, I enjoy the story, but I think Nintendo can do more with this franchise. There's so much interesting lore with the franchise that's still to be explored. Even in Tears of the Kingdom, they discard all the build-up from Breath of the Wild to do its own thing, which on the surface is fine, but they never explore anything. The beginning of the game is immaculate and sets up a narrative that just doesn't pan out. 4 identical Secret Stone cutscenes instead of exploring something interesting. The game wraps with its amazing ending, but anything between the beginning and end is such hit or miss, especially if you do the tiers out of sequence. Nintendo doesn't really have a narrative-heavy franchise of their own. Fire Emblem is by Intelligent Systems, Xenoblade is by Monolith. I would love for their own core teams to have a swing at a deep, enriching narrative. At the same time, I don't want it to swing too far into obscure timeline lore that the average player would never know. But I think there's plenty of room for improvement.
Yeah.
What if Monolith made a Zelda RPG?
Oh man,
What if
Monolith.
that? I'm just going to throw that up there.
Do it, Monolith.
That would be cool. I mean, they've been helping out on this series for a long time now. I'm sure they know it extremely well.
They have the
Maybe they need a break from Xenoblade. Oh. Maybe this is what we all need. Maybe this is the solution.
I'll just cry for 25 hours. It's fine. Wow. Good comments. Next time they should just do the debate and I'll just sit back.
Because you struggled?
No. Because they're very thoughtful. Our wonderful
They are, yes.
Patreon community is just so thoughtful. So.
There may be more debates in our future. We'll see.
I think so.
We shall see.
I have the gavel now, so we're ready for any debates
Let's put that away now.
Come our way.
Let's put that away.
No, I like it.
All right,
I'm going to keep it here.
On to the games we are playing.
Whoa.
Headlined by none other than Astro Bot.
Astro Bot. It's been an Astro Bot filled weekend.
It really has.
For both of us and / everyone in the world.
It seems that way. Everybody's playing this game. Everybody's talking about this game.
Yeah, you have been like totally. You told me this morning that you were a lot further along than you had expected to be because you've been just playing nonstop.
Yeah, as we record this now, I'm probably like 75% through.
Whoa.
Probably by the time this episode comes out, I may be done.
Oh wow!
But yeah, I've just been really sucked in by it. Every level just has some new idea or ideas that are so fun. They never overstay their welcome, and you just kind of end up wanting to know, like, well, what happens next? So, like, the loop is super fun. It's like you do a couple levels, get some of your little, PlayStation buddies, take them back to the hub, do the gacha machine, see if you can do any of those new, like, Pikmin type. Like, you need 100 guys to do this or that.
Pikmin was fun.
They do make the same Pikmin sounds.
But they're so much better. They don't die.
No, they don't get eaten.
They don't get eaten by a horrible monster.
No, they don't.
And they're just like cute little helpful friends.
And then you go back and then you go do it a little bit more. So like I have been really like indulging my desire to play, but at the same time like I've been trying to not overdo it because it's like this is such a special experience. I do want to savor it as much as I can.
Yeah, usually I'm such a let me just blast through a game as fast as possible, and especially with like 3D platforming games that have no story. I'm usually like, let me just get to the next level. Oh my god! But I'm spending so much time exploring. There's a lot of you can do just around the little galaxy in your little DualSense controller ship.
Yeah.
I unlocked this like kind of like hard set of like platforming challenge levels. It was called
You mean on the world map?
Yeah, it was called like the Triangle Void or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess they have one. I'm assuming they have a triangle, like one for each of the buttons. But this was the Triangle Void. It was in like the second world, and it was so hard for me.
Those are like the harder levels.
I mean, it was really hard for me, and I spent like a good 2 hours trying to like beat those. But it was so fun. Like the game is just. I agree with you that the game loop is super fun, but just like the game itself, like the platforming feels so good. Every level has some kind of cool little, power-up item that you get that changes up the platforming. You feel properly challenged, but never like, this is impossible and frustrating. I like how the game, when you like, there's plenty of checkpoints, and when you die, like, you can very quickly get back into it. It's kind of like Cuphead in a way where it's like almost like 2 seconds and you're like back in.
That's very nice.
A lot of exploration that you can do to find things, and the things that you find feel worth it, which is always a good thing for me with like platforming games. Like sometimes I know there's lots of secrets, but it's like I don't care about this like stupid item, like whatever. But like you really want to find the little bots, especially like the PlayStation. Yeah,
those are cool.
The branded bots or whatever we're calling them. Like I'm very motivated, even for PlayStation games that I don't really like. I was in the Last of Us level, like the mushroom one, and I was like, I need all of these. I don't know why. I don't even play this game, but I just need to have them.
I wonder like what what was the politics of like, can we get this character?
Yeah.
Can we not? And there's like a lot of third-party characters.
A lot.
There's some indie characters. Like people are talking about how there's no Square Enix stuff at all because they're tricky.
They probably don't want to do the approval.
They didn't like that.
I saw some Capcom characters.
Oh my gosh. There's so much.
I squealed like a little girl when I unlocked the prince from Katamari.
That one's great.
I literally jumped out of my chair when I unlocked Okami.
Yeah.
And then the dog is just there, and it has a little like torii gate that it sleeps under. Like this kind of like discovery is so smart. It's so well done. It's like Smash almost, where you're like, who else is here? You know, I need to know.
I've seen people saying like, oh my gosh, like Ape Escape. Like I gotta go check these games out because that level was so fun.
That level was so much fun.
It is nice that they're not afraid to go really deep.
Yes.
Because it could have just been like, well, you know, what are the hot games we've had in the last 5 years? Let's focus on those. But they go way far back.
Yeah,
so
some of them I don't even recognize.
That's very
I need
cool.
Some research.
And then those characters, like once you pull the gacha, you can get a little accessory for them.
Yes.
And it's like they have really like understood all of these characters in a pretty like deep way.
It really is fun. And the gacha, you unlock it by collecting those puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
See, that's another good example of like it's actually worth it for me to collect it.
Yeah.
You know, because usually I'm like, who cares? Like I don't need to complete everything in this level. It is not worth it to me. But now I'm like, yes, I need to get more puzzle pieces because I think there's more things that you can unlock. Like actual game mechanic-y things that you can unlock.
Through the puzzle pieces?
Yeah.
Well, so I've unlocked, you can repaint your little controller ship. And then
cool.
you can also, there's like a costume shop. So you can dress up as, I only have a couple unlocked now, but you can dress up as those PlayStation characters.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
Or there's also there's like a gold Astro Bot.
Oh.
And then I have one more. I think it's just one more of those things, those big buildings to put on the hub world. And I don't know
what it is.
What that is.
Puzzle pieces.
But yeah, there's like you just feel so compelled to do all the things that the game wants you to do.
Exactly.
And then like to your point, like everything in those levels is like so finely tuned.
Oh yeah.
It just functions so well. It feels so good.
It looks so.
It looks amazing.
Like
amazing.
My eyes and brain cannot comprehend. Like how I'm just like I haven't blinked for like
it's
3
eye
days.
candy.
And like
it's absolutely eye candy.
I mean, it's so silly. It's like, yes, we need this high processing power so I can have 5,000 apples.
But
guess what? I do need the apples.
There was one where at the end of the level it was raining these gems.
Yes.
And I was like, this is why we need a PlayStation 5.
And then there was like a level where it was like sprinkles.
Yeah.
Like ice cream sprinkles. And like the DualSense controller was like, you can feel like that. I don't even know how to describe it, but like in your hands, you felt the texture of the sprinkles, and then you just saw in your it's like a full sensory experience. Like your eyes were just like a million sprinkles were wow.
it's kind of
wonderment.
Like Mario 3D Land on the 3DS, where they really used the 3D.
Yeah.
And it was like you could debate whether it does or does not enhance the gameplay. I think in this case, like all the stuff on the controller does enhance it in a way that I kind of can't explain. Like just having some other point of feedback with the character of what's happening in the world, like helps. I feel like it's helping with the jumping, helping with the navigating.
Yeah.
I cannot explain why, but I just feel that way.
There's something about how immersed you are. Like you feel really one with the character because of the controller. And then you like, even like the little footsteps, you can feel the footsteps in your hand. Like that part was just incredible to me. And like all the different things that, like they do a good job with like not overdoing like the motion, not overdoing like certain things that you could do. Like there's a bit of a sense of restraint. Because that controller is very, very technically advanced. Mm-hmm. You can like really like shove a lot of things into it. They do a good job making it feel like, we're not going to force you to do like everything all at once, so that's really nice. I did like, there's this one part where you collect after each little world or nebula, you get like a part for your like your bigger
for the PS5,
your bigger plate PS5. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's your little ship or whatever.
It's part. The PS5.
They're calling it a ship.
Yeah, it's your ship. Yeah.
And there was one that I did last night where I had to like cut it out of a block of ice.
Yeah.
And it was like a chainsaw.
Really
and I was like, I really feel like I'm cutting something. It was like vibrating, and then I was like, There's something about it that was just like so like viscerally satisfying. Like I don't know, like people say that controller is like, you know, over the top or whatever.
Well, thank goodness somebody's doing something with it. Because most people really are not.
I do have to charge it every night though, because every play session afterwards, I look at my battery and it's like, oh.
Yeah, I'm sure that game drains the battery
more
than others.
But it's okay.
Have you had any particular like favorite levels or favorite little?
I don't want to be spoilery, but can I say it here?
I think you can say it.
Okay.
Like, it seems like people are blowing through this game for the most part. We have people in our community who like I beat it 2 times already over the weekend. Yeah.
All right. You didn't spoil this for me, which I was really glad you didn't, but I absolutely loved the God of War level.
Yes.
I guess you were saying that there is a special sort of like tribute level in each world, which is very, very cool. The first one was like the
Ape Escape one.
Ape Escape one, which is really, really fun too. That was like such an old school, like.
Have you played Ape Escape?
I think, yeah.
I've never played Ape Escape, so I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was like such a deep cut, you know. But I kind of liked it. But this one obviously is not a deep cut, and I loved this one because it was like it had like some kind of like drama build up because you beat the boss, which was a really fun boss fight, and you end up in like sort of the middle of the ocean, and then here comes a Kratos bot in like a tiny inflatable version of his boat, which I was laughing really hard.
Yeah.
And then you go to the God of War level to get like that ship part, basically. And that moment, they have a great cutscene where like you see this axe. Yeah. And you're like, oh, something special is about to happen. This is gonna be good. And yeah, there's the detail of everything that they put in there was so well done. Like you get the ass is really heavy. They have this whole thing where you're like trying to pick it up because you're just a little robot. And then have you noticed that every time you die and you like come back to life, he does like the Kratos yell with the axe. Like these little details are just so amazing. Like there's so around every corner was some little tribute to the God of War games. Even the puzzles in that level were like reminiscent of those games.
Those levels make these Lego games like irrelevant. It's like I know they're making a Lego Horizons.
Forget it.
Could you just make Astro Bot Horizons? Make the whole game like that?
Yeah, the whole game.
That would be amazing.
I made a joke. I'm like, I kind of like this more than actual God of War. I was only half kidding. There's just so much humor in it. You know, there's there's a little bit of like poking fun of ourselves at this like ridiculous like serious game, you know?
Yeah, and that's what Lego always wanted to, but this just has, that tight gameplay of this game.
Oh man, yeah.
With all of those tributes and fun.
And you can do so many cool things. You can throw that axe and it feels just like playing.
I know, and they've said like,
War.
oh, this was like one of the most like challenging game mechanics we've ever put in a game. It's like, well, now it's an Astro Bot.
Well, they probably just made him do it for Astro Bot. I mean, whatever they did, it was just like magic.
So the Ape Escape one's first, and after that, I didn't realize like this is going to be a common thing, and every one of those worlds is one of those deep PlayStation tribute stages, and then God of War's next. Uncharted, I did after that.
Wait, oh my god, I'm so excited.
That one,
to see Drake.
I liked it. I did not like it as much. The God of War one is just like so hard to top.
Yeah.
And
I wonder what else is there.
I will not say what happens.
Okay.
I'll keep it because you're not there yet, so I'll keep
excited.
it a little bit vague.
Whoa.
After that, but they're all like really cool and super well done.
Yeah.
I really like one that I'm not sure if you're at yet, where there's like water and you transform into a sponge.
Oh, I love that.
A sponge Astro Bot. You can kind of suck it up, and then you get really big.
Oh, cool.
And then you can press a button to like squeeze out all the water. So it's a lot of like, there's like fire stuff that you got to get rid of.
Yeah.
And getting big, you're like Kool-Aid Man through the wall. Really cool.
The little power-ups that they give you in each level, if they made you continue to use it all the time, it would get annoying.
Yeah, if you had it like permanently.
But they don't let you have it permanently.
No,
so it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's almost like a wonder seed.
And the ones that they do repeat, like they give it some breathing room.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh yeah, I remember what this is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So that's good. It kind of did remind me of Mario Wonder, where like you get the wonder seed for a little bit and you can do something cool.
Yeah.
But you don't really need to do it all the time, because then they would be like kind of annoying, you know?
Right.
So I'm glad that they have like that kind of sort of quick turn, imaginative like gameplay, I don't even want to call it a gimmick, but a gameplay mechanic or whatever that is really fun for that level. Like I really like the one with the sticky fists, where you can it's like arms.
The arms,
the arms.
Some people have accused this game of stealing Nintendo mechanics.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Some people have said.
Inspired by?
Many people are saying. But speaking of Mario, that is something a lot of people have been talking about is how does this compare to the best of 3D Mario?
I mean, I think it's up there with the best of 3D Mario. And you and I talk about this a lot. It's there are really not that many 3D platformers. They don't get made too often. Even Nintendo doesn't make a 3D platformer.
It's a genre the whole
often.
industry just decided people don't actually like these unless it's, a Mario or a Sonic game.
Right.
So they just don't happen very much. And it's there's some, indie examples, but even in the indie space, there's not that many of these compared to roguelikes or other
shooters,
other popular
or racing
genres.
games.
And it is a shame because I don't know, for me at least, it's the ultimate kind of feel-good genre that there is, but it's there's just not that many of them out there.
Yeah, I mean, the last Nintendo 3D platform was Kirby in the Forgotten Land, I think. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
And that was at least
that was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. So even Nintendo, who one could say are sort of the king of 3D platformers or platformers, even they don't make 3D platformers that often. So it's a rare treat to get a 3D Mario game. It's been a long... I mean, people are saying this is the longest drought we had between 3D Mario games. The last one was Odyssey. I don't count the remake of 3D World because
Bowser's Fury?
Sure, but it's a little mini...
It's a little thing.
A little mini thing. So since mainline, right? 2017 was Odyssey. So yeah, I think this is why I think you and I both are trying to savor every second of this game because they don't come around very often, and I think that this game is right up there with a great Mario platformer, and I'm just glad that there are great 3D platformers that we get to play.
Right.
I'm just happy about that.
Yeah, I agree. I would say it's better than Galaxy 1.
A lot of people are saying
I'm not as... I don't love Galaxy 1 as much as a lot of people I've found.
I loved Galaxy 1.
2, it's been so long since I played it and they didn't re-release it. So it's
it's a little...
In my mind, I think they're kind of neck and neck.
Yeah.
Odyssey I put in a different category because those levels are much bigger, more open.
Yeah.
You can do just a lot more free exploration. So I think it's a hard comparison.
That's a hard comparison
to make. Yeah. I did come across a small handful of levels in Astro Bot that do have that level of openness. There was one where you're underwater that felt really big.
Okay.
And that one actually did feel similar to, I forget what the name of that kingdom was in Odyssey, but where you're underwater and doing some stuff there.
Right, yeah.
Odyssey was super good. So
I mean, Odyssey is
and I think
tops.
And I think one of the things that Mario has that Astro Bot doesn't is just a wider range of things that you can do. This it's you can run, you can punch, you can do whatever you're you
can double jump, you can do a little laser feat.
Yeah, you can do that. And it's
Mario has more.
You have a much more
mechanics.
compact moveset, whereas Mario, has all these different types of jumps, different ways to interact. You can defeat enemies in multiple ways. Odyssey had all the really advanced stuff you could do with Cappy that went really deep.
That is the part that mechanic was so brilliant.
By the time I was wrapping up Odyssey, I was doing some crazy stuff with Cappy.
You were Cappy was
so fun.
Acrobatic Cappy.
I loved that so much.
Yeah.
And I don't think this game is trying to go in that direction, which is totally fine. But I do find that to be a distinction between this game and those games.
Yeah, I think the things that they have in common are the things that I love about 3D platformers, which is they're really joyful to play. They're fun, they're bright, they're happy. You feel really good when you play. You feel a sense of deep satisfaction when you complete a really tough part of a level. You discover cool things that you can do with the character. And in Astro Bot, they do a good job with the different mechanics that they throw at you. And so you have the sense of discovery. With Mario, Mario has a deeper moveset, has different, ways of defeating enemies. So you always have the sense of discovery. And those are the elements of 3D platformers that I love. And I think they both share that. So that's good. That's a good thing that thank God, both these games exist so we can play them, Many
people have declared already, no matter what,
Goaty,
this is my game of the year.
Woo!
Will you be going that far right now?
haven't beat the game yet, so I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It's the greatest game ever made.
It's gonna be up there.
Stand on business, Krysta.
Whoa, every night I'm delighted. I'm seriously like, my heart is so happy. I'm laughing. I'm like, I'm just delighted. So I mean, if it continues,
what a cop-out answer. Just hemming it on through this.
Continues to go
Fans
this way,
of the genre will love Astro Bot. No.
Is this Goaty?
Listen, we have a lot more to go in this year. There's a lot more games to come out. I'm not saying anything until we get through November.
Yeah.
It's absolutely on my list. It's going to be in a lot of those different categories.
I gotta think
guarantee
about
you that much.
I gotta think about this
I think it's going to be higher on the list than lower.
Yeah.
But as far as declaring that now, that would be irresponsible.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
I think
we have to have all the information. We have more games this year, guys.
There's a lot more games.
We got Bromance.
We have a Mario Party.
We got a Mario.
Oh my gosh.
We got Jamboree.
Are you joking me?
We got meat. We got sandwiches.
We have so much.
We got a
Funko Pop game. Jeez. So. Again, another thing a lot of people have been asking is like, what is Sony taking away from this?
Yeah.
Because they famously, at that financial thing, I think it was earlier in this year, they're like, yeah, we don't really have any big games planned for the year.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, this is maybe the biggest game they're going to have. This is a bona fide hit.
Yeah.
So what do you think they are taken away from this as they start to get the feedback and settle into it?
I think they did that thing where they like swung too far in one direction.
Yeah.
They became like the studio, the platform that was really known for like prestige AAA narrative driven games.
Yeah.
Like that is what, and like we all it was our fault too, because we all as fans, as players, we bought into that. And we were like, yes, Sony, you're only supposed to be making these games. I only want to buy PlayStation, and I only want to buy, those kinds of games for you. I'm not interested in any other games. I only want, Dark Last of Us games forever. And so they were like, okay, we will make these games for you forever. And then they were like, they needed to, have a better balance. You cannot only make that one kind of game. It's extremely expensive. It takes a really long time. And also, you have to have some variety. So I hope what they're taking away is, you can still do some other stuff that's a bit more creative, that this is made by a much smaller team. It's a much, scrappier project for Sony by all intents and purposes. And people love it because we all needed a break from the dark, narrative-driven games.
The sad dads.
We needed a break. We could not have any more guitar playing. Sorry.
I needed to be a sad dad as a cute robot.
Oh, yes. That is actually very cute.
Yeah,
I really like
that's
that.
what I
With
needed.
the little guitar?
Yeah.
It's cute. But I hope that they learned that,
I agree. I think
Balance.
that the pendulum swung just a little bit too far. So hopefully this, just brings a bit of balance.
Exactly.
And they can start to build a bit more of a portfolio that touches upon all of this. This is... Sony seems to be having some sort of 30th anniversary celebration that they're building up towards.
I saw that.
Which will be exciting. And I think, this game pulls from so much PlayStation history.
Yeah.
That hopefully, somebody realized, there's still a lot of great ideas that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all these great franchises, and our partners had all these franchises. And some of them, we haven't touched in so long.
Yeah.
And maybe it's
There's an
time
opportunity there.
to give them another go, because it seems like people still really like these.
Yeah.
They still, can resonate in a modern gaming way.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that because, there is this in this game, there's the excitement of seeing these characters, of reconnecting with them, but then there's a little twinge of sadness of oh, are we ever going to get another one of those games, or is this kind of it?
Yeah, exactly. Balance is key. Balance is good for them because they don't need to spend millions and millions of dollars all the time.
Right.
That is not sustainable. And it doesn't
they
help you.
They kind of need that as well from a business sense.
From a business perspective.
They were really walking the tightrope, and with old Concord just going poof.
Who cares about that? No, everyone's forgotten.
Well, they just lost a ton of money off of.
I'm just saying, they did the perfect thing of shutting that down.
And they knew what they were doing.
And then putting out this game, good on Sony for that good strategy.
They knew exactly.
Because we all love you.
Way to go, PR team.
PR team, good job. Yes.
Nintendo, though.
Yeah.
How do you think they're reacting to all this?
I know.
We did a video when this game was announced.
Yeah.
Discussing, again, how Nintendo might feel about this. People thought it was ridiculous to even ask the question in some cases.
Yeah, and now look what happened.
But it's coming back up again.
It is coming back up again. We were saying Nintendo is, sort of known in the games industry as like the king of platformers or games of this type where it's like very bright and joyful and colorful, whatever. So how might they be feeling about this? Nintendo, it's so funny to think about because I feel like people think that Nintendo is just like running around.
Red alert.
Hair on fire. Like, oh dear. Like, I need to do something. But the developers at Nintendo are so insular. They're so up in their like ivory tower. They probably don't even know what's going on, honestly. They're so focused on, the games that they're making and what they are doing.
Yeah.
They really shut out the world.
And no joke, a lot of these developers may not even know that this game exists.
I promise you that they don't know this game
because they hire, they look for like so many different backgrounds of people who are not like lifelong gamers and have just a different perspective on things. And like we would hear that all the time when we would talk to developers. Like, so what kind of games do you like to play? Like, I don't play games.
I don't play any games.
Are you joking me? Like, I make this game.
Yeah, but
I do other things in my free time.
Yeah, I'm like a novelist.
Yeah.
And like the funniest thing is too, like you think that, the person making the Zelda game is definitely playing the Mario games. We asked them and they were like, oh, I haven't played that game.
Or there was the one time we were with Mr. Yabuki and Mr. Nogami. They were both visiting for GDC.
Yeah,
like, so do you guys play each other's games? And I think Mr. Yabuki was like, yeah, I was interested in Splatoon. I had to go rent it.
Yeah.
Like he could, it's not just like, hey, here's a copy, check this out.
He was like, we have a game library for like us to take, like borrow games. And he was like, yeah, I thought I was going to go rent it. But then he said like, oh, but someone else had it.
So I borrowed it from him.
I couldn't play it right away. But he's like, but I was like kind of interested.
All right.
But it wasn't like, it's not like assigned homework that you're supposed to be playing each other's games.
Right.
So they're very insular. They're very focused on what Nintendo. They're very busy, I'm sure.
But they will be getting waves and waves of reports on this now.
Sure.
And the other thing that I'm interested in is, in the Treehouse, they always do this sort of analysis on this. And they'll be the ones who will pass along the information. And they famously downplay a lot of major releases. I can remember after, I think it was the first Last of Us game was revealed.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like scoffing and like, oh, this is not a fun game.
Yeah.
Like this is so gruesome. This is gory. Nobody's going to want to do this.
Yeah.
It was like, well, this became one of the biggest new video game IPs we've had
all time,
in the last 10 years. And that would repeat itself over and over, like
a
major new release from a competitor. And it's like, well, we're going to find ways to kind of discount this or nitpick this.
True.
It's not the Nintendo way. It's like, it's not, but people love this.
Right. So it has value to understand it. Not for the reasons of like copying or for reasons of whatever else. It's just for reasons to understand what people are engaging with. Mm-hmm. But they would do that a lot. They would do this thing where even the way that they delivered these reports would be in like a very condescending way, honestly. Like they would just kind of discount these games. And when we were at Nintendo, we kind of kept our mouths shut. But we were playing a lot of these games, and we were playing all the different consoles. I was, playing tons of games on PlayStation while I was working at Nintendo, obviously. But it was very insular. Is I think the key takeaway is that they're just very concerned about themselves,
right? And
whatever they need to do to block out the distraction, even if it's being disparaging or being dismissive on like major like hits, like major games that are hitting, GOTY contenders or whatever, like they will kind of shut that out in a way that is pretty much like, we don't need to worry about that. We need to worry about what we're doing. And in a way that's very smart because that keeps their stuff like very untainted.
Honestly, it's for the best because otherwise you get sucked into the capital D discourse.
I know.
Which is the next thing.
Yeah.
What is your favorite bit of discourse on this game?
I made the mistake.
The backlash came so fast on this game. It was like Friday night, everybody's like, I love this game, this is the best. And then Saturday morning, it was like, I don't know about that.
I was very confused by the many different kinds of discourse that was happening around this game.
Yeah.
Like, it was, first of all, it was like there was definitely like a lot of Nintendo fans coming out, like, sort of like very defensive, like already being defensive.
Don't compare this to Mario.
Yeah, don't compare this to Mario. This would never be as good as a Nintendo.
Right, there was
Nintendo's
that.
the king of platformers. There was that.
There was actually, this game is kiddie, and I want my cinematic adult sad dad games.
There was that.
That's what I come to play for.
Right, there was that.
There's all sorts of 3D platformers that nobody's bothered to pay attention to.
Right.
Shame on you. You in particular.
Oh my goodness.
Shame on you.
Big mistake tweeting that, because people in the comments are fighting, are being nutty. I had to like mute them. Like, okay.
There's a lot of angry people out there.
Yeah, I was like, I get it. I'm just saying. This is not a genre that is that popular, you know?
The real discourse about this game that nobody is talking about. Are you ready for this?
Tell me.
The game's camera is inverted. The y-axis is inverted by default.
That's true.
Did you even notice this?
I did not.
These developers know what they're doing.
As soon as you told me, I uninverted.
No!
And I was like, oh, it feels so much better
you were like, I love the controls. It's so snappy. I was like, did you know that they're
and I was
inverted?
like, oh, it's even better now.
No, that's a sign of true development genius right there.
Mr. Miyamoto does
inverting the y-axis. I was like, yes.
Mr. Miyamoto plays like that too.
It's time for real gamers.
It's gotta be that
now.
thing is like presidents are all left-handed. Real gamers are all inverted.
Well, I'm right-handed.
I'm not a real gamer at all. I'm a fake gamer girl, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, this happens now with everything. Like,
I cannot roll my eyes further back.
People don't like
it.
I mean, there is also like the inverse where like people people are saying good things about it, and you feel like you have to ratchet it up to be able to add a new thing. So it starts to get into the hyperbole zone.
True.
And if you're on the other side of like, yeah, I wasn't interested in the first place, I could see how that could get kind of annoying.
I was interested this whole time.
Right.
You and I we popped off during the PlayStation Showcase because we were like, this is the one.
This is awesome.
Turn it around.
This is awesome.
But yes, I think people just need to stop.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's not replicable.
Yeah.
You actually can't replicate the success.
Yeah, lightning in a bottle.
I think Jason Schreier got a lot of heat because he's like, here was the formula they followed. Like maybe the industry could learn something from this.
Yeah, and they were like, well, Nintendo's been doing this all along. It's like, okay.
Oh my goodness.
I work there, and I don't care about what you have to say. Like, stop it.
I mean, the truth is, like, even for the people in the industry, in these companies, like, they barely know what they're doing. They barely know how to do what they're trying to do. Everybody's just trying to get by.
Yeah.
Like, there is no magic formula.
Yeah, and sometimes things happen. Like, guess what? Animal Crossing, that game happened during a pandemic,
right.
so it was a hit.
It's interesting to talk about it because it's obviously a very different path. For a PlayStation game.
True.
I think for PlayStation in the future, with their resources and their background and their team of developers, this is a path.
Some good learning
Again,
for them.
I think they should think about this path. Will it work for everybody? Obviously not.
Yes, exactly.
Obviously not.
Exactly.
Nobody was saying that. Okay, oh no.
Overruled.
You're going to get gavelled.
All the discourse out there, everyone.
You're going to get gavelled.
Overruled. If you are able to play this game, go play it. It's really fun. Don't think about all this stuff.
This is how you know.
Enjoy.
This is how you know a game is big. When you get this level of discourse.
Yeah.
Capital D.
Just enjoy
all caps,
it.
Discourse.
Yes.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff does not come around very often.
Yeah.
This kind of feeling of everyone loving something all at once. It's a very like having a joyful experience is a rare thing. So just enjoy it, okay?
I can't. I'm mad.
It's gonna be fun,
I'm angry.
everyone.
And I'm angry at you.
Why? Because I like story and Zelda games?
That's Astro Bot. We'll have more to say on that next week.
Yeah.
Well, do you think you'll be done by next week?
Probably.
You probably will.
Yeah.
It's a quick play.
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's going so fast. I want to savor.
I know.
So I'm like trying to slow down a little bit.
They have said they're going to have
DLC,
some free DLC that's got stuff like speed runs.
Yep.
Which, I mean, the Astro's Playroom, the pack-in game.
Yes.
Which is so fun with speed runs.
It was so much fun.
I'm not usually a speed running person, but that could be fun.
I want to try it.
That could be really fun, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. More Astro Bot. We've also been playing Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection.
This is so good.
Wow.
I've been playing this game for a while. It was at the recent Capcom event that we went to.
Yeah, then Capcom sent us codes.
And then they sent us codes.
That's cool.
And we've been really wanting to try out the Punisher.
We are majorly zagging on this because the game that we want to play is the game that nobody else is talking about.
No one wants to play this game.
Everybody wants to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2. We want to play the Punisher.
We want to play Punisher because it's a fun, like, multiplayer
Which is a very
beat 'em
simple
up.
beat 'em up in the Final Fight vein.
Yeah.
In that same sort of era. But this is one that I learned about this game. I never saw this game in an actual arcade.
I don't know if I have either.
And maybe it just got a limited release or whatever, but I found it much, much later, and I was like, oh, this is actually like super good. Like this is like classic Capcom beat 'em up, and we played a bit of it together. It was really fun.
Yeah, Nick Fury and
the Punisher.
The cool thing about this game that made it a little bit different than a normal beat 'em is how big the characters are.
Well, yeah, it's a Capcom arcade game.
I was like,
big.
oh, that's so cool. Like, it really feels like good when they're like.
The difference is you can shoot people. You have a gun.
You have a gun.
All sorts of guns because you're the Punisher.
That's true.
The early 90s were a very different place as far as how people felt about guns.
That's how we grew up.
Yes.
The
vigilante justice.
The violence of the 90s.
This is awesome.
Don't do it, people.
This is awesome.
We shouldn't do that.
But no, but then yeah, like I have been dabbling with some of the other games, and I had Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Dreamcast. Today's the 25th anniversary of the Dreamcast, by the way.
I saw that.
Shout out Dreamcast. But beyond that, I kind of missed the rest of those, so it's cool to go back and check them out. And I don't know if I'm gonna like master any of these, but it is like a really just like fun kind of like playing with action figures,
you just dabble.
Kind of thing.
It's fun to dabble. Like, what happens when I put these two people together?
It's like all the Marvel characters have such interesting powers. It's cool to see them in a game. It's cool to be able to do that and see like how everybody stacks up.
Iceman's goat.
Iceman's good.
I really like Iceman.
Right, and I like how they kind of fudge, a lot of the stuff that you might normally see, whether it hurts the competitive balance or not. Like you have the Hulk, and the Hulk takes up the whole screen, and the Hulk's big and strong.
Care.
I like that.
I like it. It's fun.
That's exciting to me.
Some of the moves are cheap, but I don't care.
Right. It's got all the stuff from that series, like the launching people way up into the sky and doing the crazy combos. Like it is a big departure from the traditional Street Fighter stuff, but I really like it a lot. As far as this package, like it's got everything that you would expect it to. It's got a lot of like behind the scenes materials, different visual overlays. I haven't tried out the online play yet, so I can't really talk about that, but seems like it's super well done. Shout out to Capcom for just releasing everything.
Good for them.
If we made a game, we're going to put it on the Switch and all these other systems. Yes.
Good for them.
Yes,
truly.
please.
That's good for all things.
Because I'm going to buy it.
Game preservation.
Next up, that next collection with a Power Stone. I'm going to get that.
I'm excited about that one too.
I'm going to get that.
That's going to be cool.
Yes.
I never played Power Stone, but I want to try it.
It's very fun. Another like Dreamcast game.
Right?
It's got some similarities to Smash Brothers.
Do you think I'll be better at it than I was?
I think so.
Really?
I think so.
Because I'm so bad at Smash.
I think you might.
So that might be good.
Yeah.
For me. Okay.
I have been playing.
You finally started playing
Monster Jam Showdown.
Yay!
Have
you unlocked?
People may or may not know this about me. I've become quite interested in monster trucks over the last year or so.
Okay.
Through interesting circumstances, I was in a store
with sharks.
And I saw one of the monster trucks is called Megalodon, and it's a giant shark with huge wheels.
That's pretty cool.
And I think I was at like a Target just like walking through the aisles, and I saw this like remote control car of Megalodon. I was like, oh, that's cool. They made a remote control car that looks like this shark. I had no idea that this was an actual thing. And then like later on, I saw something online. It was like, oh wait, that's real? That's a real truck? And then I just fell down the rabbit hole. I've gone to several Monster Jam events.
Yes.
I've gotten way. I've watched some of these things on YouTube.
You played the first Monster Jam.
There have been a lot of Monster Jam games over the years, but the one that came out before this was Monster Jam Steel Titans. They did two of those, so I played the second one most recently, and that was solid. That was pretty fun. With this new game, Showdown, they've made a lot. It's a new developer, new publisher, so they must have handed the license over to somebody else. The developer on this is Milestone, who's done the Hot Wheels games.
Yeah, those games are great,
which we like a lot.
We do love them.
Yeah, those games are really good. So it's like
super fun.
They have a developer that's actually good at driving games doing it. I've only played a little bit so far. I wanted to play more, but I got so sucked into Astro Bot.
Yeah.
I'll have more to say about it next week. But there's the big difference that I have seen so far is Steel Titans 2 had these pretty big kind of open world areas, these levels. And that was kind of how you did all the individual challenges, but there was other stuff that you could just do in the open world.
Okay.
Some of those I liked, some of them I didn't. Like some of them I felt there was like 7 or 8 of them, and some of them were just kind of hokey themes. Like there was one you're like in a haunted forest. It's like, this is a real world thing. I kind of want it to be more
like
grounded.
In a more like arena kind of thing.
Or just like on some crazy, mountain road or something.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be cooler. This one like is very down to business. It's like,
oh.
It's just a menu and you're like picking which event you want to go to. So depending on whether you want that sort of open world experience, like might play a decision if you're thinking.
But you don't mind it,
of
right?
which one to get.
You like the
I think I actually like it being a bit more streamlined. I am curious to find out the balance of racing events versus stuff that you're doing in the arena, because again, these actual events are in an arena. Like,
that's what I was thinking too.
You have a part of
like different challenges to go over.
Part of the thing is like, how are you managing this limited amount of space that you have versus like basically doing like a Mario Kart race on a track. It's still outdoors, but those don't really happen. So I think I would prefer for there to be more of the stadium style events where there are races that you do in there. There's like tricks competitions. And yeah, you can do like all the different tricks that they do in the real life thing. So the racing is well done. It's very competent. It feels like you're driving, a big heavy truck, but I don't know if that's necessarily what I want out of it. Having been to the events and appreciating what they do in those events, I think I would prefer that. So that's what I'm going to check.
That's what I know them for. Is like more of the
what is the balance of the races versus all the other stuff.
Yeah,
they do make you unlock all the trucks. I have heard
Megalodon?
That it is not too hard to get Megalodon.
Okay,
but I need to find out.
You also showed me a picture from the last Monster Jam that you went to, where there was one that looked like a unicorn.
Sparkle Smash, yes.
Where is that?
That one looks very early on the unlock list, so I'll let you know when I get Sparkle Smash. I'll also say cool. I'm playing the Nintendo Switch version, which I'm kind of surprised that it runs pretty well.
Oh, good.
I was sort of
skeptical.
Bracing for the worst when we played this at Summer Game Fest. I think we were playing on a PC, and it looked great. I was like, we're in this era of Switch games now, where some of these
like third-party
games can be a little bit iffy, but I thought the graphics were good. The frame rate didn't look bad. I think the load times could have been a little bit better, but that was really the only downside. I am going to be checking out the PS5 version in a little bit, so I'll do a bit of comparison.
Oh, that's good.
On the two, but I have a feeling that version is going to look really nice. Once I finish Astro Bot, it's going to be back to Monster Jam.
Okay.
But so far, it seems quite solid.
Cool.
Yes. Lastly, you need to walk on eggshells for our final update on Emiya the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club. Spoilercast is being recorded tomorrow. Do not jeopardize that.
Zip the lip.
Please. I do think there's one important thing we need to say, which people may not know.
Epilogue?
There's a big chunk of this game that you could miss out on.
Yeah.
So you beat the main game.
Credits will run.
The credits roll. At which point, some people might turn the game off.
Don't do it.
After that, there is a major epilogue that really gives you a different perspective on the story. Substantial, it's like an hour long.
Yes.
You need to experience that to complete the game.
You do.
Right.
You do.
Because I put out a tweet last week of like, oh my gosh, I was really like surprised at like how mature and intense this story was. And a lot of people were like, what do you mean? I finished the game. I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, you clearly didn't do the epilogue. If you played the epilogue, do that and then come back. And let's see how you feel.
Unless something is not right. Because yes, that was something that surprised me. I actually told you so you can allocate the correct amount of time to do it. I did not know that this was. I always roll credits and watch to the very end. That's just what I do. I just leave my Switch propped up on the coffee table and go do other stuff. And then I came back and I was like, well, what? What's this? And then I looked it up and it was like, this is a 1 hour plus epilogue that will, give you this different perspective.
Right.
So, yes, definitely if you're playing this game and you stopped at the end, you have more to play. But yeah, we were joking around. We were like, it's so funny that Nintendo's last game was this like M-rated, like super dark, disturbing, like scary horror thriller. Story-driven game. And then Sony's last game is this like bright, happy 3D platform. It's like, what universe are we in? Woo.
It's Freaky Friday.
It is. They switch places. But it's great. It's great that everyone is doing different things, you know? But yeah, we have the big spoiler cast coming, so I don't think we need to say anything else but other than we finished this game, and it's a one that is going to stick with me for a long time.
Yes, I mean this game lives or dies on the story, so I think we should stop there.
Yeah.
But I do think that's a good PSA to do that epilogue if you're playing this game, because you could miss it.
Do not miss the epilogue.
Yes.
Yes. All right. That's it.
Spoiler cast coming soon.
Yes.
News time.
Yes, here it is.
Breaking as of this morning. Unfortunately, we will not be having a reaction in this podcast because this hasn't happened yet. We're kind of in this in-between.
We could just do it tomorrow.
Right, but not here. Sony has announced a PlayStation 5 technical presentation.
Oh, goodness. Why are they calling it that?
Hosted by none other than Mark Cerny. 9-minute stream. Not even roughly, exactly 9 minutes.
Just exactly.
It's going to happen tomorrow morning. Everybody seems convinced that this is the PS5 Pro getting revealed. Are you convinced that that's what this is? By the time this podcast is out, we'll know.
I'm pretty convinced.
I think I am too.
Yeah, pretty convinced. Yeah, there's been a lot of lead-up
Do you want a PS5 Pro? Did you have a PS4 Pro?
I did not have a PS4 Pro. I went directly to PS5.
Yeah.
I don't think I need a PS5 Pro.
I don't think I do either.
I'm very, very happy with my PS5.
I feel the same way.
And I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll probably just wait out this generation.
I'm curious to see what they can do, but I have not experienced a lot of games where I've found the technical side of the PS5 lacking.
I mean, I always trust, and every time I boot up a PS5 game, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, we're both playing a game
amazing.
right now that is like peak eye candy.
Yeah.
So
5 billion apples.
I don't know what else. I don't know what else I could ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there are some games that are not, the 30 versus 60 frames thing is something where some people feel let down.
Sure.
I guess,
maybe this could fix that.
This could solve that, but I don't see any glaring issue with the base PS5.
How many years has it been now? I'm losing track here. Has it been 4 years?
What year is this? Yeah, it's going to be 4 years.
4 years. Okay.
So, I mean, if they're going to do it, it's fine. I think
mid-cycle, probably.
I think the pricing question looms large.
Yes.
Probably
like $600.
What do you do with the base? Are you going to drop the base at all? How much more is this going to be? And how many people can actually afford that?
Yeah, it's probably going to be quite expensive. So
Sony cannot resist the siren call of $599.
It's going to be $599. You know it's going to be $599.
But anyway, again, by the time this is out, this will be out. No need for us to speculate anymore.
Exactly. But yeah, I think pretty sure what this is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I thought this was interesting. We now have a bit of insight into a title for Tears of the Kingdom that was scrapped.
Yeah.
Mr. Aonuma has shared this. There's a story on Nintendo Everything that you can check out. But the original title was going to be Tears of the Dragon. And I think that's notable because remember, I think this was around the time that we were leaving Nintendo.
Yeah.
None other than Bill Trinan said one of the reasons that they could not reveal the actual game title was that it was itself a spoiler.
Yeah.
Clearly, this is the title that he was referring to.
That's right, yeah.
It all makes sense now.
It all makes sense now. Yeah, because this is such a significant part of the story, these dragon tears. So yeah, I think that is what he must have been referring to.
I'm glad we finally got this because when we finally heard of the title and played the game,
how's that a spoiler?
I couldn't stop. I was like, wait, what was that referring to?
Right.
So it's just a nice full circle thing to have that confirmed.
That's so funny. Do you like that title better than Tears of the Kingdom? Or do you prefer Tears of the Kingdom?
I'm fine with both. I think dragons are just cool.
Dragons are cool.
I think I maybe like that one a smidge more, but Tears of the Kingdom ain't bad.
Tears of the Kingdom feels bigger, like it's more than just a dragon. It's like the whole world, the whole kingdom.
Yeah.
Is involved in this. So I do think that the different name or the name that they eventually went with, Tears of the Kingdom, is the right call.
Yeah.
So yeah. How funny though.
We have some Switch 2 rumors, and I've got to say I'm getting a bit exhausted by these. So
tired by these. Who cares? It'll come out when it comes out.
So 2 weeks ago, or whenever that last Partner Direct and Indie Showcase was, everybody agreed. Nintendo moved these out of September to get out of the way of the PlayStation 5 reveal.
Which is now coming tomorrow.
Which is now happening.
Yeah.
Now, everybody has flip-flopped and agreed that the Switch 2 reveal is happening any day now.
It's not.
Which one is it?
It's not happening. Come on!
Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but like...
I don't.
It's just every week there's some new boom, boom, boom that everybody's convinced themselves of.
The whispers of the industry?
I don't know. This came from Chris Dring of, I think he's at GameIndustry.biz. Industry whispers of something happening this month. Okay. Fine. It's a rumor. Now somebody else has come out and said, built on that rumor,
oh gosh,
Bill Kuhn, some industry insiders are hyping for a Switch successor announcement this month. But hey, here's something that Nintendo will really announce. A new Switch OLED bundle featuring Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
For like their Black Friday stuff?
I could believe that.
I could believe that too.
Yeah. The era of bundling is nearly upon us.
Upon us, yeah.
They have been earlier and earlier announcing the Black Friday stuff.
Right.
Because it's just kind of like something that always happens. Like the retailers themselves.
They need to have it.
They will leak it.
The information.
They leak it out there to get, buzz out there and to kind of get a leg up on their competition.
Right.
Because everybody's got a different Black Friday offer. So if you want to officially reveal it, you do kind of need to do it
super early.
Relatively early.
And like we've seen like the holiday season fervor just comes earlier and earlier every year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that Nintendo often resisted, of like, no, we're going to wait as long as we can, but they got burned by these leaks.
Yeah.
So I noticed like last year, they started to do it a bit earlier.
Right.
So, yeah, it could be
any day
relatively
now.
soon that we,
And we do think there's going to be pretty aggressive bundling this year, just because it's
they really should.
Last holiday for Switch.
They
should really just like
Guns
try
blazing.
to sell through, all the stuff, right?
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
Totally.
Last thing here.
Oh.
The trailer for the Minecraft movie has been released. Have you seen this?
I've seen the trailer.
A Minecraft movie is the name of it.
Yes.
What did you think of this?
I'm not a huge I don't know.
Stars Jack Black?
It does star Jack Black,
yeah?
Yes, our very own. This picture of a goat that you have here is ridiculous.
It's a sheep, excuse you.
Sorry, a sheep.
It's a pink sheep.
I'm not the biggest Minecraft fan,
You're not?
so I don't know all the little
Thought you were an expert.
No, inside jokes and stuff that they put in here, but yeah, I don't know. Not that interesting.
The general sentiment on this seems to be relatively negative.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that this was like a mashup of live action plus CG.
CG, yeah.
So Jack Black is Steve.
Sure.
There seem to be some other people with him who have been trapped in the Minecraft world. It is like a major step up in, obviously Minecraft, like the look is by intention, very blocky, very simplistic. Like this is still blocky, but it's hyper detailed, which I think is just like a little bit jarring the first time you see it.
Yeah.
But I think this could be cool. I feel like this is going to make a ton of money.
I mean, every kid is going to go see this.
How have they resisted doing this for 20 years? How long Minecraft's been around now?
Yeah, I feel
feels like it's going to be big despite the detractors.
It just doesn't matter. All of them are going to go see it. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad.
Yeah.
They won't know the difference anyway.
Is Jack Black overexposed in video? Because he did this. He was in Borderlands.
Yeah.
He was Claptrap. He's Bowser. How much is too much?
I think it was too much now. He's gonna be Ganon in the Zelda movie. It's gonna be bad.
He's gonna be a theatrical Ganon.
Or Tingle.
He's gonna sing. He'd make a great.
He'd make a good Tingle.
Whew.
That's a good cameo for him.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You seem to not care. Fine.
I don't care.
That's fine.
I truly don't.
That's fine. Maybe this will get you back into Minecraft.
No, I'm not good at it.
All right. That's fine. We can wrap this up with some questions from our Patreon community. If you want to get this cool shirt that I'm wearing, check this out.
Wow.
We're getting down to the home stretch if you want to get this and all of our other merch, this latest wave of merch by community member Alzanda.
Yes, almost gone.
We have this design. We have the Kodak Today design.
Yes.
Shirts, sweatshirts,
I like
notebooks,
the Kodak tote bag.
Tote bags.
That has design both sides.
Mugs, you name it.
Very cool.
End of September, those are going away forever. Poof.
Yes.
So
into the vault.
Check them out. Link will be in the description. First question is from Jason Ball 34. Hi, nowadays we're fairly used to the headline structure in Nintendo Directs, a series of shorter, briefer news updates and announcements that are strung together between the bigger tentpole trailers. When headlines were newer, however, you can see in the 2017 Direct that they were presented a bit differently as to how they do it today. They actually showed a list of all the upcoming headlines at the beginning of the video and then went down the list. I definitely prefer how they do it today, unveiling one thing at a time, since I felt I was getting spoiled when my eyes would catch glimpses of something lower down on the list before it was time for the Direct to talk about it. Do you have any insight into what Nintendo was thinking when it attempted this list format, and or why they moved away from it? The format of Directs is pretty set in stone these days, so I'm interested in if there is a story behind this brief experiment. Thanks.
Yeah. I feel like this was the era where, in that sort of early 2017 era after Switch launched, it was when we were really setting the formula for Nintendo Direct. That's when like the full Nintendo Direct team was formed. It became less of like, hey, on the side, in including your other job, can you work on this Nintendo Direct? Kind of a ragtag team before then. Now it was like, this is a thing. This is a major, priority vehicle that we at Nintendo deliver news. So we're gonna like really set the process.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was sort of like the early days of like figuring out what that exact formula is. And I think pretty early on we realized that the element of surprise is the it's kind of obvious when you think about it now, but really like maintaining that element of surprise through the pacing of the entire Direct was like the #1 priority. That's why those leaks are so disappointing to Nintendo when they happen around Directs. And so, yeah, then they realized that like, wait, when we do it this way, you do get a little spoiled, and maybe the next 5 games are games that you're not interested in, and you might tune out, you might turn it off. So,
The reason for this is there was such a concern of people getting bored and tuning out.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, let's kind of do this so they can see like, oh, that thing 2 ahead.
I like that.
I'm not interested in the thing that's being shown now, but I know what's coming and I am interested, so I'm not going to go. Like, there was so much conflicting information at this time of like, is a Nintendo Direct too long? Like, online video needs to be short as can be. 1 minute. Can you make it shorter? Can you make it half a second? How about that? People would love that.
It needed to be bite-sized.
Yes. Snackable content. Everybody wants a snack.
We want to eat
Nobody wants a 10-course meal.
I want a 10-course meal.
And, at that time, Directs were still not the juggernaut that they are now. So there was still a little bit of hesitation of like, yeah, it is a lot to ask people to watch this 30, 40-minute thing. Like, let's make sure people don't tune out. Whereas today, it's like, yeah, people know this is going to be worth your time. There's going to be some top-tier stuff here. You're going to love it.
Yeah, exactly.
But back then, there was a bit of a doubt of like, I don't know, maybe, we don't want to stretch people too thin or give them a reason to tune out, so let's try this.
Yeah, literally at the end of 2017, I think the Directs became what they are now and have stayed that way since.
There is also a show that a lot of people on the Direct team at the time knew that used this format. It's called Pardon the Interruption.
Oh, yeah,
the sports show. Yeah. And this is like the format of the show, is they have a list of things they're going to talk about in that order.
Yeah.
And they talk about each thing for like 2 minutes.
Right.
And it is that's exactly the phenomenon that happens is like, yeah, I don't care about the Yankees versus the Orioles, but like, oh, that sounds juicy. 3 things ahead, I'm going to keep watching.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of inspiration from sports TV shows on the Direct team. Like
totally.
There was like that Around the Horn show.
Oh, Around the Horn,
They wanted to do something like that.
Yeah.
So you might, if you watch a lot of sports like shows, you might see some comparisons to Nintendo Direct. Yeah.
We got Switching It Up _ next. Hey, Kit and Krysta, how are you both? Been a while since I asked a question, but having been to Nintendo Live, the Australia edition.
Yeah, we got a good update from Switching It Up _ on
Switching It Up _ got some questions now. Yeah. Firstly, how much goes into planning an event like Nintendo Live? Are there special teams formed for events like this? My friends and I were talking about the reason for a free event like this. With Switch 2 on the horizon, this seemed like a way to engage with fans and try to make some new fans by keeping the Switch relevant. There were no new games to play, only recently released ones. Why did Nintendo do these events? Finally, I got to meet Charles Martinet. What a beautiful, wonderful human. He is so passionate about what he does. He left us with some amazing life advice. Did you find this with your interactions with Charles, and did he impart any words of wisdom to you?
Oh, I love Charles.
So we got a three-parter here.
Yeah. So let's go with the first question. How much planning goes into a Nintendo Live? A lot. And this was something that was really sort of pushed and started by the Nintendo of Japan team. They've been running Nintendo Live events in Japan for many years before it came to the one in Seattle that you and I went to, and then of course this one in Australia, the most recent one. But yeah, it is a significant lift, and there's a really big difference. And we were talking to some of the events people when we were at PAX, and we worked with them a lot, and we planned a lot of events with them, so we kind of do know like behind the curtain what it feels like. But there is a huge difference to planning your own standalone event versus being on the show floor of an existing event. So like having a really cool PAX presence, having a huge E3 booth, those are hard to do, but it is like exponentially harder to run your own event.
Yeah. We went to the one in Kyoto in 2019, and when we came back from that, there was a lot of, discussion within NOA of like, all right, well, if we wanted to do something like this, what would it be like? Mm-hmm. And we were like, okay, how much more size was this Nintendo Live versus our typical E3 booth? And it was like three to four times. It's like, okay, well, E3 has us on our knees for about 6 months, or the whole company. What do you think this is going to be like?
Yeah.
And, we did the thought exercises of like, all right, well, who would have to do what, and how would we have to like build little teams to address different things? And it was like really a scary prospect.
It's a huge
I'm
lift.
honestly glad that we left before they actually started to do these, because I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. This is going to be nuts. This is going to be really super hard. Harder than an E3, which, at least you had the reps of doing that for 20 years.
And you have like some things done for you because you're part of a larger exhibition.
Totally.
Yeah, doing something like this independently is a huge lift. And honestly, like one that, Nintendo has an amazing events team, but there's areas of doing an event like this that they don't have the expertise in.
Right.
Because they are, not used to planning an event of that size.
And you just need so many people at an event this size too.
Right.
And it's like with a smaller company like this, with smaller teams, it just gets so hard.
Yeah.
So I really wonder when NOA does another Nintendo Live, if they ever do.
They seemed so grateful.
Another Nintendo Live, because it's like, yes, there are soft benefits, like engaging with fans, but how do you quantify the positive business impact? The Japan side seems totally fine with these softer benefits.
Yeah.
Whereas I think NOA is a bit more like, we really need to calculate what is going to be effective for this small team that we have.
But this is tough for them.
Pump out more ads is the answer.
Yeah, for the budget, for that budget,
into the ad
you
budget.
Could do something with much lesser lift for maybe even greater impact. So yeah, it's tough sell.
Right. Charles Martinet, he is amazing.
He's such an amazing.
He's everything you've heard more.
He is definitely like the embodiment of everything joyful. All that joy that is in Mario's voice when you play a Mario game is like his real personality. And he never gave us like explicit advice, but one thing that I always took away from Charles is like, just like live your life to the fullest, like the YOLO aspect. Like we've always told this funny story, like when he goes to a restaurant, when you go to a restaurant with him, he will order everything on the menu. And guess what? Why not? If you can, and you just want to try everything on the menu,
one of those,
do it, because it's fun. Like don't be embarrassed.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I always think about when I think about Charles and how he lives his life, is like, just do it because it's fun. Like don't like hold yourself back, And I love that about him.
I was really glad to see him at this, because when he got that role, Mario ambassador, there was a scenario where it's like, all right, he's the ambassador, but you never see him again.
Yeah.
Like for him to be at an official Nintendo event,
that's great.
It's really positive to see. So I was happy with that.
Yeah.
Prince Charmless asks, PAX West has come to a close, and it seems you both enjoyed your time over there. My question is, when you're doing the demo of some games over there, I notice there's always a person on each booth that's like a guide to talk you through how the game is supposed to play. Do you find it annoying that person constantly talking to you while you're playing the game? I'm pretty sure most of the people attending there knows how to play. So do you think it's really necessary to have someone explain to you the most basic things about how to play? What do you think?
Well, usually the people aren't over-explaining.
Well, sometimes they are.
But the person I got wasn't.
That person was really good.
That person was really good. I like the light touch. Like, it's good to have someone around at each station in case you need to reset the demo or you need to, if someone has a question, you can answer it. But that is the kind of demo I prefer.
Yeah.
When we used to train demo staff, like, that's what we tell them, especially for media, because they play games all the time. They're, like, very familiar. So we always tell them, like, to have a light touch, like, don't over-explain, don't, like, micromanage their gameplay, because that's annoying for them. And just, like, be there if they have questions, or if you want to point out something cool, like, that's fine. And that's exactly what my experience was with the demos that I played at PAX.
And most of these shows, I mean, these people are given strict directions. Like, here's what you need to do every single time.
Exactly. They get trained.
And so if they're trained to be too, aggressive, then it's like they're constantly talking to you, telling you what to do. It's like, yeah, I get it, I know.
Yeah.
But like what you were saying, like somebody who's observing, like if you get stuck, give the person help.
Like a light hint.
If there's any like critical information at the start, like briefly introduce that, but let them play the game and let them experience it for themselves. I don't like playing games at shows. That's one of the reasons. It's also just this like
too much
stimulation, too much noise. It's hard to come away with that with much of an impression.
Yeah.
But yeah, that person we had at the Nintendo booth was really
so
good.
good. Yeah.
I forget their name though.
So good.
Sorry.
So good.
Record Rumble asks, what kind of accommodations and conditions were you given by Nintendo when you went on work trips?
What do you mean conditions? Oh, like
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
When I was with Namco Bandai and Konami, we were sharing rooms.
Oh.
Sharing a room with ya boy.
I wouldn't.
Pick your best,
No.
in my case, pick my best male friend and shacking up.
Okay, yeah. Nintendo, the travel accommodations were quite good. Nintendo they were pretty good at, letting us not share rooms. We were usually in, the hotels we picked were usually like by proximity to the event. So we'd always stay like somewhere close to the event. No one was doing anything crazy. No one was like booking the penthouse, whatever. But it wasn't like a bad accommodation by any means. And we were on an expense report, so our meals were covered, and you're on transportation from the
we never had
was
a
covered.
per diem.
We didn't have a per diem,
but it was kind of use your
per
best
diem.
judgment. So again, at other places there was a per diem. I think
see, yeah.
I forget if it was Konami or Bandai Namco, but I remember $70 a day.
It's not bad.
Was a per diem, which was fine.
You can do a lot with $70 a day.
You could totally make that work.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have a per diem, but it was like sometimes things would come back and be like maybe rein it in a bit next time. Or
Nintendo wouldn't let you take anything out of the minibar. I remember that was like specifically in the travel.
Right.
Like whatever.
You could watch movies in the hotel. That was allowed, right?
You could?
I never did that, but I remember that was a thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think it was like you can expense like one to two movies. I think depending on how long you're staying.
Are you serious? Oh, that's cool.
I remember that.
I've never done
something.
that on a work trip.
Yeah, I mean, we booked everything through like they had like a site,
a little travel.
And if you booked something that it thought was too expensive,
it
would tell you. Mm-hmm. But you could like bump it up to your manager if you're like, this is literally the only option.
Or like, I have to stay here because I have
this is where the event is.
And I have to be there like 6 a.m.
Right.
So
or this actually is the cheapest option. Everything's super expensive for some reason. You could bump it up, and a lot of times you'd be like, yeah, no big deal.
It wasn't.
So they were actually very.
We were so well behaved.
Yeah.
Nobody did anything bad. We were just like I'm like eating like a salad it's like so boring.
Well, there were some stories that we won't be sharing, but.
Oh, that one time?
Well,
that was not
maybe there were other times.
Bad. That was I think that person that was doing your expense report was like
no. We'll talk about it afterwards. I'll refresh your memory.
I don't remember any of these. I didn't watch a movie or anything.
I mean, we were very well behaved. But.
Oh.
I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
But I mean, it is really amazing to think like. How much money the company spends
on travel.
Now
that we have to
have a business,
right?
Like going to a show like PAX is like a major expense for us. So like we have to really like have a good reason to go.
Yeah, it is.
Or like why it took so long for us to do our Japan trip. It's like
we really had to get the finances in order.
And then you think like, oh my gosh, Nintendo at a show like E3, like how many people times a week? It's so much money.
I can't.
It's amazing.
Yeah, now we have like the shortest trips ever just to save any way we can because we're like very like tight on the travel budget. But if something is worth it, you know.
And as like there's other people that we know who have gone independent as well. Like that's a realization they've all had. Like, travel is very expensive.
Yeah,
compared to when I had a company paying for it.
Account. Yeah. Yes, you learn some things.
Yes. All right, we got a question from Ryuji Utsuho Okou.
Oh boy.
I noticed in the last Direct that a lot of studios had a segment where the developers of a game spent some time introducing themselves before showing their game. I'm curious if that's something they chose to do on their own versus a Nintendo guideline. If I were an indie developer, I would have preferred the extra few seconds of showing my game than myself saying, please check out my game. So this would have been in the Indie World Showcase.
Yes, yeah. They don't typically do this unless it's like, the Indie World Showcase. I mean, I guess sometimes Aonuma will come out to intro a game.
Yeah, if there's like some major thing, they'll let the developer talk. But this is mostly an Indie World thing.
Yeah.
So it is something they try to do intentionally.
They do.
They do take the world part of Indie World
really
seriously. So you notice they're like, oh, we're from Brazil
Spain,
or we're from... They always call out. They try to get people from all over the world to emphasize this point. And I think it's a nice touch. It's not something where they're taking away time from the game. Like, they're baking in these introductions.
Right.
And
so it's like they have a minute 30 for their trailer, and they'll have a minute 30 for their intro.
Right.
But they've always only had a minute 30 for their trailer.
Right. You know they weren't going to convert that extra time into more game time. So it's nice to see these more personal stories of these indie developers.
That's true.
Get more of a feel for it. So I like it.
I like it too. I think it's nice I always like seeing the humans behind these games.
Yeah.
So I like it as well.
Riven's got a very insightful question. Oh. Why do so many Japanese games use the word defeat even when they mean kill? Like a quest might say defeat 5 of this monster when you're clearly killing them. Is this just a localization thing, or does the original Japanese follow that convention as well?
When we were at Nintendo, we were not allowed to say the word kill.
Kill, die.
Die.
Right.
I still have a hard time saying that nowadays when I'm like playing a game or like streaming a game or something. Yeah, but we had to say...
I think we got a gentle tap on the shoulder in some early Nintendo minutes.
We did.
Specific to Mario games.
Yeah. Kill that Goomba.
Mario died. Yeah.
Couldn't say that.
You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, they're very particular about it. I guess they don't like that word. I mean, Mario is like more
I can
of like
understand
a
it.
child.
It's more, for everybody. So it's like, he's coming back. He's not dead. He was just defeated briefly.
Briefly? Our fallen hero was only defeated briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is especially for Nintendo games that are more like E for everyone, they're very particular about that. I think, if it's like an unrated game, obviously. Yeah, I kind of had like a visceral reaction when I was playing Emio, because I was like, this is a Nintendo game, and there was like, kill, die. Ah! And I was like, oh no, this is weird. But because it was such a thing when we were there, like, don't ever say that when you're doing a Nintendo Minute video, like, don't ever use those words. So, yeah.
Final questions from Paul Gale. Hey, Kit and Krysta, this is a question for episode 135 of your podcast, which will air right before Indie Mania 2024. Are you looking forward to the event, and what are you most interested in? New games, interviews, giveaways, surprises. Thank you. Yes, Paul Gale, super Patreon subscriber extraordinaire, with his friend Mike Odyssey, is doing this cool event, Indie Mania.
Yes.
I'm just saying, you might see us in this event. I'm just putting that out there. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't, but maybe we will. That's all I'm going to say about that. No, it's a cool thing they're doing to bring visibility to a lot of really great indie games. Mm-hmm. So shout out to Paul and Mike. Yeah, we're excited to see we don't know all the surprises in here, but we're very excited to. Why would we? Because we might not even be in it. True. But maybe we will. True. But I'm excited to see what they got in store. It's like a 2-day event. So multi-day, yes. Get settled. Yes. It's going to be great. Them's the questions. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. It is the end of this podcast. You are regretting your life decision. What decision did I make? Of hanging out with me. Of winning a debate? You mean losing? I don't think I lost. Ah! Stop it.
I cannot thank Capcom enough for giving this wonderful thing to me. Really.
To us, it's whose name is on it?
I'm going to scratch
Whose name is first? Mine.
Scratch
Kit
it out.
and Krysta.
Krista, 19 out of 30. 19 out of 30 Kristas.
Somebody was like, wow, amazing. They made 30 of these that say Kit and Krysta, and you got number 19.
Someone was like, is this a special edition? How can I get it? And someone else was like, this is not. Because why would they engrave your name on a gavel?
Yeah. I'm going to hold it now. Let's do some shout outs, please. Yes.
We will start with our wonderful, beautiful final boss, Aaron Hash.
Aaron Hash, there we go.
I would never overrule him. He would overrule me, actually.
Aaron Hash is having us do an interesting thing.
Oh, yeah.
He's into the motorsports. He gave us a list of
NASCAR
car drivers. He said, pick one.
Yes.
And I guess he is tracking how our drivers do through this whole season. I don't know.
You picked Joey Logano?
I don't know what the big picture vision for this is. I'm interested to find out.
Yeah, I picked someone randomly.
All right.
So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll win it all.
Fun.
Okay, here we go. With the superstars.
Yes.
Whoa, what am I saying? Superstars, here we go. Maru Mayhem.
Eigenverse.
Kiss My Flapjack.
Mike Chin.
Roy Eshke.
Switching it up _
VGM Life.
Link, the hero wins.
Angela Bycroft and her pig Molly.
Thomas O'Rourke.
Kyle LaBeouf.
Roberto Nieves.
Frederick Wolf Conradson.
Andrew Uhas.
Chili.
Simon.
Crashuri.
Master Discord.
Ash.
Ajay Kundlas.
And 40 Gig. Yay! And the One Up Club, Aaron Burgundy.
Ale Alejandro.
Astro Dev.
Awesome 46.
Bad Moon Horizon.
Bates.
Benji B.
Big and Gamer with a Y.
Bookem Dano.
Brandon Cavapple.
Brent Dennison.
Brooke Obscura.
Brovek Novak.
Cameron.
Shadir.
Shelly Squirrel.
Crispy Saurus.
Christopher Lay.
Captain Alex.
Primcat.
Crystal
C. Roper 17.
Dachshund.
Doiko.
Elite Peach.
Espars 50.
Fart Priest 69.
Fairbound.
Fernie and Just Forever.
Fox Deploy.
Garf the Wolf.
Gartooth.
Guilty Phoenix 42.
Happy Sloth.
In Space Khalil.
Iris Marin.
Jay Rando.
Jeff Hoving.
Jeffrey Hernandez.
Joe Encarnacion.
Jonathan Rowe.
Jordan Collette.
Jordan Hemmerly.
Joshua Clements.
Juji Fruit.
Justin Lemminger.
Cowoods 2796.
Keith Kwan.
Kevin Delane.
Kilo Kibo.
Christopia Party with Me.
Kyle Gamerberry Rookie.
Kyle Kretzer.
Lazy Cat for Coffee.
Link 9898.
Lex.
Oh.
Oh.
Lit.
Luigi 53.
Lynn.
Macho Potato.
Mad Dog 5981.
Magnificent Easy G and Callie Marie.
Marky Man 64.
Mario Man 392.
Mecha Dragon 101.
Megan.
Michael Cravens.
Mikey.
Mr. Ryan 07.
Motomania.
Mr. Andy Pond.
Mr. Beans and Dip.
MSN Poke Gamer.
My Tran.
Nasir.
Nathan Burkhart.
Naif E.
Ninja 11.
Pangy.
Patrice Millette.
Paul.
Paul Gale Network.
Prime Factor.
Prince Charles.
Raver.
Raintech.
Record Rumble.
Ryuji Utsuhu Okou.
Ryeth 1.
Rob.
Rom Sky 113.
Rox.
Ryanetta.
Sakura Sky.
Sharif Jackson.
Shinryu.
Schmills.
Slowbro.
Snazzle.
Space Poo.
Spicy Munchkin.
Steel Citron.
Pseudo Priest.
Tales of Link.
Tay 120 and 64.
Teal Fox.
The Keggers.
The Shark Among Men.
Thomas Alvarez.
Three Rivers.
Timmy V.
Torcheeks.
Totally Joette.
Travis Torline.
Trick Jowie.
Tugs Puppy Bear.
Tyler Geis.
Tuskoob.
No, Tuskoob. Video game stupid.
Viridian. Oh, this is falling apart. Vidgmictor.
Viridian.
Virtual Bot.
Weeb Kingdom.
WG Grizzy.
Wyu.
Wicked Davy.
Will Johnson.
Zelgaroth.
Zapatty.
And Zroid.
Oh, no.
Something's in
wow.
there.
I messed you up. I'm sorry. I played Zroid in our fantasy football.
Oh, I was hoping you'd talk about this.
I don't know if I won or lost.
You don't know?
I don't know how to
I
look
think
at
you.
it.
I think you. Lost.
I think I lost.
I'm pretty sure you lost.
Zroid he got an F score on his
On his
auto
draft.
draft, and then he came back to beat me.
Don't worry about that. Yeah.
What happened?
It doesn't matter. You lost. That's what happened.
How should I do
You're
it?
0 for 2 between this and the debate.
No.
Huh?
1 for 1. Wait, what? How do I know?
You check the app and it'll tell you.
It was not unclear to me.
It's one number versus the other number. If you have the bigger number, you win. Like many games. You want a high score, you see.
I don't know how it works.
Okay.
Anyways, lots of fun things happening in the Kit and Krysta community, including fantasy football, in which you can play with me and I will lose and not know.
Free wins.
Free wins all around. Spoiler casts are coming. Notification Squad and above gets those baked in.
Wow.
They are getting so much cool stuff.
Eating good.
Eating good. So if you want to join us, please. We are at patreon.com/KitandKrysta.
And if you're watching this on video, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, and leave us a comment if you please. If you're listening on audio, you can also subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and a written review, please.
And we're on the socials. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Threads. Okay, we're leaving now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, it's really far away.
Can't reach it.
Give it to me.